Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This episode 237, Fast and Furious, Lap 11. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode's brought to you by Tamsworth Distilling, where they make the Grave Robber Unholy Rye maple syrup flavored whiskey, infused with maple syrup from their graveside maple trees. So shout out to Tamsworth Distilling.
Well, shout out to Tamworth Distilling and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. After the break, we'll be joined by @OhMyRodriguez on Twitter, Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party, to talk about Fast and Furious. But Joe, extracurricular activities. What have you've had a busy week since we last recorded.
I had a really, really eventful past 5 days. So, we record on Wednesdays, Thursday morning. I got up, took off, and went to Vegas to see my buddies because it was the finals of the Fantasy Hockey League. I wasn't in the finals. I had lost in the semifinals, so it was two of my other friends in the finals. But it was a very, very close match, and it came down to the very last days, like the last days.
So how many people are in your league and how many people were out in Vegas?
There's 8 in the league, and there was 5 of us in Vegas.
Okay. Small league, but pretty good showing. Okay.
Yes. So, it came down to the last day because the last regular season hockey games were, Thursday and Friday night. Those were, the last 2 games. That's how the season ran. I had told you we didn't know this when we were, booking it because, we were let's just meet up so we can celebrate and watch the last games together. And because some of my friends are in California and D.C. and Atlanta and Connecticut, me here, we were Vegas seems like a good central point to meet up at, easy to get to, and a fun place to go watch some games. So when we booked everything, we were like, why is everything so fucking sold out? And this is December, right? So we're It's a random weekend in April. This doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Well, later on we found out, and as we knew when we were going, that the NFL draft was happening that weekend in Vegas. So the NFL draft is also free, so we just signed up for tickets, and it happened to be a very, very pivotal year for the Steelers because it's the first draft we've entered into in 17 years that we didn't have, an official franchise quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're, sick, we're going to the draft, but, obviously you don't know what your team's going to do, so we went to the round 1 on Thursday night after we landed. I'm, super amped, so we watched maybe the first 3 or 4 picks, and then we were the Steelers don't pick till 20. It's kind of packed here.
Man, the crowds on TV made it look like it was a music festival, but you weren't seeing music. You were just watching tall athletic dudes on stage.
Yeah, and that it happens pretty slow, right? You get 15 or 20 minutes between a pick.
I think they've lowered the first round to 10 minutes. I think maybe not.
It feels longer.
Yeah, there's also nothing happening. The point of watching, not the point, but watching the draft on TV is somewhat tolerable because it's they're overloading with stats and highlights and talking heads and everything. But what were they actually showing? Was it just video screens showing a simulcast of the broadcast, or what were you looking at in the 95% downtime? No, probably 98% down. There's just nothing going on.
Yeah, it's just Steelers are on the clock, and they might have some highlights of the Steelers.
So it's literally you're at a music festival, but it's between sets.
Intermission.
It's just yeah. That's so the worst part. Okay, yeah, that's terrible. Okay.
Yeah, so we were we saw the first couple. We're okay, we get it.
Would you have paid money? I know you said it's free. I know it's free, but would you have paid money for a ticket or no?
Probably not. There's stuff there, but you're absolutely right. It's a music festival where 99.
Was it held at the Raiders Stadium or where was it?
It was in the parking lot of Caesars.
So okay, sure.
So they built a tent, very much looked like a music festival tent, and then and the floor is all season ticket holders and fans that got seats. So you're behind that.
Right.
So I was actually right in front of the College Game Day set. That broadcast, because that was facing the stage.
Okay.
You know what I mean? The cameras would be pointed at the guys, and then the stage was behind them. So I didn't mention it to anyone, but I'm sure if you were watching College Game Day broadcast on ESPN, I was like right in front of that booth. You probably saw the back of my jersey because I'm facing the stage too.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Ice Cube was there. I was like right behind him. We're like, okay, we get it, and it's hot. We're gonna just drink a bunch of water, sit in the back of these picnic tables, and chill until it gets closer to 20, or pay attention to see if there's anybody like trades or we hear anything and Steelers move up, because that's what I pretty much care about, right? So I'm sitting there, and the whole time my mom had been telling me when I'm leaving for Vegas that the local Pittsburgh classic rock station was doing their broadcast from Vegas for the draft, which is very Pittsburgh of them. They essentially just like suspended all actual talk radio in the mornings, and they were just like doing draft analysis
Okay.
for like the past week, okay? Or like the past, like they like joined like the media tent or whatever at Vegas. So I'm like, yeah. So she's like, you gotta go find them. I was like, yeah, whatever, mom. Sitting in the back at the picnic table, got my Duck Hodges jersey on because I thought that was like, it's one of my favorite Steelers jerseys. Weird time in Steelers history, and I was like, this is like a wacky jersey that I got, so I'm gonna wear my Duck Hodges jersey just for fun. And I'm sitting there, and I hear these like guys come up on me. They're like, "You're wearing a Duck Hodges jersey. Like, you gotta tell us why." And I look up, and it's the local Pittsburgh radio station, like the host that you hear on the morning every day, and it was them just standing at our table. They saw me in the Duck Hodges jersey, so they start talking to me, and I'm like, "Oh, this is like awesome. My mom has been telling me to come find you." They're like, "Who's your mom?" And I was like, "This is my mom. This is where she works. She's like in Pittsburgh. She listens to you guys all the time. She's gonna be really amped to know that like I ran into you." And they're like, "Oh, that's so cool, whatever." And like we talk, and they're asking me about the draft and how I like stuff like that. And I'm like, "Cool," but he's like kind of recording on his phone, and I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." So like I get excited. I'm like, "Oh,
Like it's not like an interview. They're just talking to you about like what's going on or whatever.
They're kind of interviewing me, but it wasn't like you know what I mean? It
Right,
wasn't
yeah, okay.
like official. So I was like, but and Matt was laughing because he was like, "Oh, it's so funny." We had been like boozing and chatting, but as soon as like the radio guys came up, you started talking to them in radio like we do on here, right? Like,
Oh yeah, yep. Mm-hmm.
you just like have the rhythm of the like I talk, you talk, here you go. So like I just knew they were like, so then they get infatuated. And when it's over, I'm like, "Hey," one of the guys that is on the radio, Billy, I was like, "My mom knows your mom. Like she's a really funny lady. I've met her before too. She's really cool. So like, tell her that you ran into me." He's like, "I can't believe this. This is wild." So Monday when we came back, my mom calls me and says that like she heard somebody on the radio mention me, her, that I knew his mom, that I was wearing a Duck Hodges jersey, shout me out. So I was
Yeah,
like,
you sent me the clip. I heard it. It's like they don't say you. No, they do say Joe, and they say your
they do
mom's
say
name.
Joe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's wild.
It's really crazy. So like that
Like,
was
and the whole like gist of the thing is just like I can't believe that we ran into like he's like you can't get away from Pittsburgh or whatever. But
Yes.
it's like I can't believe that we were 2,500 miles away basically, and like we found somebody who like knows my mom. Like what?
Yes,
What?
exactly. It wasn't even like about the draft. It was more so about like the how did we run into somebody that knows my mom wearing a Duck Hodges jersey.
Although I will say, so my mom is always the kind of person because of like just like her role in like schools and like the church and whatever, that wherever we would go, she would know people, and like we would be like in Disney World on vacation. She would run. I'm like, "How do you know people here?" She's like, "I don't know. It's just like there's people around." I'm just like, "How?"
Yeah,
So
exactly.
moms know everyone. Moms know everyone everywhere.
They absolutely do, and like if you have like a chatty mom or a mom that's like in the mix, then like yeah, she knows everyone. So, my mom was like fully ecstatic that she got shouted out on the radio, like one of her favorite stations. That was really cool. Tons of good food and stuff that I'll skip. But the other thing that we did is we went to Circa and we went to Stadium Swim, something that I was super looking forward to.
Wait, what is that?
Circa is like a new hotel, kind of like way at the north end of
Okay.
Vegas.
But on the
And-
strip, just at the north end of the strip.
Yeah, I think they consider it downtown Vegas, like, but it's like way up there, right? Like way up there. They built a sports book that's in a pool.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Okay.
So you can like rent, and I recommend. I'm telling you this because like you guys should think about it. It's awesome for like drafts or something like that. Like you can rent a cabana or what we had is a water couch, which is like a couch that was like you could put your feet in water and sit on this like goofy outdoor couch.
That's pretty cool.
Like has like club features in the sense that like you have a table, you can order drinks from a waitress, you can get bottles, whatever. and like I think it's like normally like $40 to get in because it's like a giant sports book in a pool. But like if you get a cabana or whatever, you just have to hit like minimum spend, and then all your admissions are free.
That's cool. Okay.
Yeah, and drinks are gonna be expensive. It's Vegas, right? So like
Of course.
we know this, so we're like, okay, we're gonna do that for sure. And it was awesome. We got to just like sit in a pool. They play all the games. There's a sports book there, so you can like gamble on the sports. They have all the lines on the side. There's like tables there, and then I mean tables as in like you could play craps, blackjack, whatever else you want there too. And also, you're just sitting in a pool in Vegas. It's like one of the only heated pools in Vegas. So like when it gets dark, the pool is still really warm. Oh, they have like a live DJ that like DJs the whole time. Instead of them
Mm-hmm.
like playing like sound, you just get like DJs, and he kind of knows his audience, which is like 30-plus-year-olds. So it's like house music mixed with like a lot of pop hits from the 90s.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Right, like it's exactly what you're like. Oh yeah, like we haven't heard this song in forever, but also it's a house song, whatever. So yeah, we sit there and then you order drinks from the waitress. Awesome, awesome thing. If like you're thinking about doing Vegas for any type of sporting thing, go there. It's worth it to sit there. It was awesome. Can't recommend it enough.
Cool.
Yeah, then we just ate like a bunch of different things, Korean barbecue, some great Thai food and stuff like that, and I'm back and came home. I took like a red eye on Sunday night, landed in Connecticut, slept all day Monday, just completely from like the time I landed till 7 p.m. And now I'm rested up and doing good. So
Awesome.
yeah, it was a great weekend all around, and it was just a lot of fun. But check out Stadium Swim for sure. And the draft is cool to see once. For like we were talking about it afterwards. Now, do we celebrate like the end of the season with the draft, or do we celebrate it in Vegas? And we're like, well, we got to see where the draft is next year, and it's like Kansas City. We're like Vegas for sure.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, Kansas City is also, if you want to go there for barbecue, it's not as cool as Vegas, but like I'm sure you could have a good time in Kansas City.
I'm sure you could have a good time in Kansas City, but like, also, can you sit in a pool in a sports book and watch every sporting event?
Probably not, but also maybe. I don't know.
Probably not. So we're like, yeah, we'll just come back to Vegas next year and do this and have another good time. But it's like Stadium Swim was so cool. We're planning to go back for like one of the early weeks of the NFL season because it was just like so much fun. We're like we could sit here for 12 hours in the pool and do this all day. So
For sure.
yeah.
Because Vegas gets cold. Like people it's in the desert. So like at night and
Oh
in
yeah.
off months, it gets really cold. Like I also am of the mind, like my brain is broken because I almost only go in January for work, and like I don't want to go back because I have like Vegas PTSD. But like it's like 35 or 40 degrees a lot of the time. So like it's it gets cold. So a heated pool sounds really nice.
Yeah, and like when the sun goes down, like even yeah, we're there, it's the beginning of May. Like when the sun goes down, it gets chilly. Like you're not gonna like be hanging out in a Vegas pool at night in spring at all.
Right.
Like
Right.
because the water was cold. We went to like our hotel pool the next morning, and the water was fucking cold in April. So
Sure. That makes sense.
either way, that's my whole rundown. I had a lot of fun. I'm glad to be back. I feel a little bit more recharged. What have you been up to, brother?
Nothing really. My parents officially moved down to Texas, so I helped them clean out their house, like, get rid of the final stuff and like throw some stuff out. And so I had, not fun stuff over the weekend, but just, work stuff to do like that. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think if there's anything. I started playing a new video game because I beat Elden Ring, as I was saying to you, and I started playing this game called The Witness, which I literally bought a PS4 to play. Like that was like because they announced it originally as a PS4 exclusive like years and years ago, like because the PS4 came out in 2013, so like I think it was like 2015 or
Wow.
something. I don't know.
Okay.
But there's a game that this guy John Blow made, who made this game called Braid, and this is a puzzle game, The Witness. And so I just never finished it, and I don't know why I didn't finish it, but I just didn't finish it. And now I'm playing it on Xbox. So like the whole reason I bought a PlayStation, I'm playing it on Xbox. But whatever. But I'm talking to Wes a little bit about it because Wes played it and beat it recently, I think.
Oh, cool.
And so between that and just like a lot of the friends that I have in the Discord that I'm on that really sort of got me through Elden Ring, all love The Witness. I mean, some people hate The Witness, but some people really like, a lot of them really love it. And so I've just been like, playing, and I think I'm going to be able to beat it probably, hopefully, theoretically, by the time the next episode comes out. So I will be on to the next game, whatever, by then. But I had fallen so far behind on TV because I'd just been busy that
Yeah.
like I just have been catching up on like Simpsons and King of the Hill. I'm into season 11 of The Simpsons and 4 of King of the Hill, so getting there slowly.
Yeah.
But like I haven't started Better Call Saul yet. I'm a little behind on the HBO shows. Like there's a lot of really good I realized why all this TV, it seems like over the last month, there's like a crazy amount of TV. It's because the Emmy cutoff is May 31st. So all these shows are trying to release or debut or premiere before then, so they qualify for this cycle. So I think it's funny that like, I'm like, why does it feel like HBO is dropping like 2 shows a week? And it's because, they want to make sure that they're all eligible for this period. Because like, if they're eligible next time around, people are going to forget. Like if they come out like in June and the cycle ends at the end of May or whatever, right? So things will settle down, I think, TV-wise. But yeah, a lot of TV out there, so I'm going to catch up on that. But I've not really watched many movies. So just sort of video games and sort of, a lot of Simpsons and stuff and all that kind of stuff. But definitely did not go to Vegas. But, I have my own trips coming up, so should be good.
On the note of TV, we started, and I think a bunch of people had recommended this to us, but Abbott Elementary.
I told you that, yes.
Yes. Like, I think you, my sister, one of my buddies when we were in Vegas, like, I had, like, a whole list of people that had told me about to try this. And have you watched it at all?
No, and I'm probably not going to. I mean,
it's
like,
okay.
there's just too much out there. I've heard
get
good things about it. Like, it sounded like one of those kind of, like, not
Yep.
brain mush, but, like, gentle, pleasant shows that you guys could watch that you, like, always are on the lookout for.
It's absolutely that. It's, like, wholesome and, like, a cute sitcom. A lot of fun. So thanks. If you were one of the peoples that gave us that recommendation, including you, Joey, thank you for giving us that recommendation because it's fun. We've been like blowing through it. It's really easy to watch. I wish there was a ton of it, but there's
It just started, right? It's only, I think it got renewed for season 2, but there's only one season so far, right? I think.
Yeah. And we've watched like 6 episodes of it already, but it's awesome. Yep.
Cool.
Totally my speed. If you're looking for something like stupid and wholesome, it's feel good for sure.
Very, very cool. We have a Patreon page, toofast2forever.com. Shout out to Cassie Wilson, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, Alex Ellen, and Justin Kleiman, Brian Rodriguez, the aforementioned Brian Rodriguez of the aforementioned High School Slumber Party, a new spin-off Twilight Slumber Party coming soon, maybe. Haley Garbies, Wes Hampton, Jerry Robinson, Dan the Duke, Hayden, Renato D. Donato, Michael McGann, Lane Middleton, Lindsay Lewandowski, Nate Milton of the Kings of Sport, Jason Rainey, and Jessica Collins, a.k.a. Montez. Thank you all so much for supporting us at the $5 a month level or above. If you want access to the quizzes, early access to the episodes, voting for all the pit stops, all the everything, all the heist things, toofast2forever.com. Even $1 a month gets you in the door. We also have an email address, family@cageclub.me, and we have 2 emails today, Joe.
Okay.
First up from Wes, subject line Dom's Instagram post. So not Vin, but Dom's Instagram post, what up, fam?
What up, Wes?
I'm listening to the Point Break episode now and just want to comment before I forget. Dom's weird rambling post, I believe, was directed toward the fans, but I think was inspired by one particular comment on the Fast 10 title announcement. If you look at the previous post, it's a screenshot of a comment from someone called the Hippie Gunner, and Vin's post just says, give me a second to reflect. Which I think I pointed out because I was saying that, like, he was doing that in a couple different ones. He had posted that. It just, like, he was responding to multiple fans, so he was definitely in response to the Fast 10 title announcement, logo announcement, whatever, for sure. Like, he's just, like, he's literally just, like, responding, like, he's customer service for sense in
essentially,
which is
yeah.
wild.
I agree.
I remember seeing 2 posts on his Instagram, originally one of the full comment and one had slightly more of the Fast 10 image, and the comment was cut off. I think that one where the image was cropped weird might have originally been the image for his long rambling comment, but he accidentally added that photo and said the generic one up there now. I just remembered being confused about the context and seeing the post with the full comment. The incorrectly cropped picture post has since been deleted. I don't think he was replying directly to that person, but I think the idea is that this fan represents all fans, and Vin uses the jumping off point. Whatever happens is going to be one hell of an ending, ride or die, right, Wes?
It's going to be wild, man. It really, really is. It's we have news. We'll talk about the news when we get to the news.
And I have lots of things that I pulled, so we're going to get there. But the second email is from Jason Rainey. Subject line, quiz taken and daddy thinking. Hey, Joes, how's it going?
What's up, Jason? How are you doing, bud?
I was listening to Lap 11 episode about Too Fast. He says, I'm still catching up, but I've listened to newer episodes to hear your thoughts on all the recent crazy Fast 10 news. I was surprised to get a shout out for taking the Fast and Furious quiz. I don't mind, and as far as my score goes, I did the math. My accuracy was 69%. ... Nice? Question mark?
Nice, yes.
As you all said, it was hard, but it was a fun way to kill time and try to remember the movie in detail. Looking forward to doing the same when the questions for Too Fast are finished.
We're getting there, bud. We're going to be at minute 60 today.
Last night I watched a movie I want to recommend to you since you finished doing a Shaw family lap. It's called The Long Good Friday, an early 80s crime film about a gangster trying to close a lucrative business deal while trying to find an unknown rival killing members of his gang. Helen Mirren, Queenie Shaw herself, plays the gangster's wife, who tries to keep his business partners in the dark about her husband's problems so his deal can go through.
Very cool.
Another Fast Connection, a scene of characters meeting at a demolition derby.
Also wild. How many demolition derbies do you see in movies? Not many.
This is another reason I wanted to mention the movie is the lead actor, Bob Hoskins. You know that name, Joe?
No, I have no idea who that is.
Super Mario Brothers. He's one of the, he plays Mario. Mario in Super Mario Brothers.
Oh, this guy. I know this guy's face it's like tattooed in my brain. Okay, cool. Yes, I know who you're talking about.
Watching this, I was reminded of older news that at one point, Vin had wanted Michael Caine to play the dad of the Shaw family. Hoskins' gangster character is calculating, imposing, and ruthless. And while I watched, I couldn't help but think he would have been another good candidate for a Shaw patriarch if he were still alive and healthy. His Cockney accent doesn't hurt either.
I think that Michael Caine has to be like the toppest tier, but I can see it, bud. I can see it.
Well, Hoskins is dead, so he's out of the running. But
yeah.
You know.
Maybe they just exhume him and they CGI him with his brother's images, and then that becomes the Shaw dad.
Yeah, you never know. Probably not, but maybe. You never know.
We never know. It's always surprises in the Fast and the Furious.
Truly. He says, I was just wondering if either of you guys had considered who'd you like to play a potential Papa Shaw. I know the movies are getting pretty crowded with characters, but it's fun to imagine. I think, like you just said, Michael Caine, great. Terence Stamp, also great.
Who else? Who's Terence Stamp?
Terence Stamp is a chancellor. I just saw him in The Phantom Menace because the episode for that is out on 1999, the podcast.
Cool.
He plays a chancellor in that. He's got a smaller part in that. He plays the Limey in Steven Soderbergh's The Limey. What would you know Terence Stamp from? He's best known for The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, apparently. The Limey, Unfinished Song. He plays General Zod in Superman. The old Superman.
Okay.
I don't know if you would know him, but he's a great British old man actor who's just like a badass. Like, I'm gonna go because you've already brought up and Jason brought up Michael Caine. I'll say Terence Stamp. I think that's a good call.
The only other person that I can imagine is like, okay, because now I'm like, you got to have like an English guy. He's got to be a little bit older, and the only person that's popping into my head right now would be like it got to be like an old James Bond, right? I'm thinking like Pierce Brosnan would be good for like handsomeness, but I think
he's
they're
not
too
old enough.
Close in age. Yeah, that was my qualm that I had. So like
Pierce Brosnan's probably like as old or like no, he's not as young, but he's like not that much older than forget even Helen Mirren for a second. Like he's probably like the same age as Statham.
That's what I was saying. But like in theory, he's a good candidate in my head. That like he would be like
okay. Statham's 54, Pierce Brosnan's 68. Still, Roger Moore died, but
yes, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Sean Connery is dead, right? Daniel Craig's too young.
Yep.
Timothy Dalton?
I think he got to be dead too, right?
He's 76. No, he's still alive.
Okay, so so there you go. So
George Lazenby, one of my favorite Bonds, 82. He was only in one Bond movie, but
But I do think ultimately Michael Caine is the right. That's like the top tier pick. So
I'm gonna send you. Hold on, I want you to watch one clip.
Go ahead.
You tell him I'm coming. Tell him I'm fucking coming.
Oh yeah, that would work for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
very good.
The Limey is basically, in a way, like British Taken before Taken, but like good, not like pulpy, and like Soderbergh, because Soderbergh directed it. So like, that's the ballpark. I think you would probably like the Limey. Limey's great. Limey kicks ass. So
I think I would too.
It's also 1999, so we'll cover it on 1999 on the podcast also. So yeah.
Ooh, cool.
Jason says that's all I've got for now, so ejecto cedo cuzzes till next time, Jason. So thank you, Jason,
for writing in.
Yeah.
And thank you for making us think about that. That was a good little thought process there.
Also, don't be surprised that we give you a shout out, because I want to encourage people who are patrons to take the quiz and who are not patrons to sign up for the Patreon to be able to take the quiz. So anytime somebody takes a quiz, we're going to talk. So, I mean, hopefully you get a good score, because again, 69, nice, pretty good. So hopefully you don't like bomb it, but you know, it's a perk. It's a Patreon perk. So
and you guys hear us make the quizzes. I as much as we like making the quiz, I really like taking the quiz, to be honest. So because you hear us get them wrong of questions that we made ourselves. It's very difficult.
Yep. Very hard. Very hard. Joe, on the streets, news about the Fast and Furious. So there's a few different things. So the quickest one first is that Louis Leterrier has replaced Justin Lin as the director of Fast 10. Louis Leterrier, notably for our show, the director of the first 2 Transporter films. So we'll see if Frank Martin and Deckard Shaw are the same person.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on Louis Leterrier or no?
I really like the Transporter films. I think it's a good choice for a replacement, right? It's in the same vein. That feels good. But I love Justin Lin so much. I don't know how to feel yet, right? So that's my hang up. I think Justin Lin is pivotal to the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be hard to replace him. But I think ultimately that's a really good choice for a replacement director. I didn't want Justin Lin replaced, but if you have to pick someone, that's in the top tier, I think.
There was also news that broke and then was elaborated, and I read this article, and I don't know if you read the article, but I have quotes from that. But there was news that broke that was like, we think Justin Lin might have left because Vin Diesel was, quote, difficult. And so we're like, okay, that's, unfortunate, but whatever.
I read some version of this article. It was probably not the source material, but I read like some Screen Rant version or whatever version that's picking from this. Go ahead.
Because Reaction Rocket tweeted at us, and I'd seen it, I hadn't read it yet, but there was a Hollywood Reporter piece called Behind Justin Lin's Fast 10 Breaking Points.
Yeah.
Here's the key takeaways from this. So Justin Lin was handling writing on the movie and believed he had a locked script going in, but Universal and Vin Diesel had other thoughts. Apparently they had not secured a key location because it was cut because of the war in Ukraine. The movie hadn't cast one of its villains yet. I don't know if that was Momoa or someone else.
Okay.
And then even as Justin Lin tried to draw lines in the sand, the studio said it would be sending to London a writer to polish dialogue for some of the actors, a move that was expected but not apparently welcome by Justin Lin at the time. So that's not rare or unusual for like a punch-up or whatever.
That doesn't feel bad either. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not Justin Lin, but I wouldn't take super offense to that. You have like somebody else that's like, oh, well, like Roman would say it like this goofy way, or you know what I mean?
I think what I'm guessing is that he was already pissy for whatever reason, which we'll maybe get to, or maybe just other things that haven't been reported.
Yes.
And then on top of that, it's just like, well, now we're going to do this too.
And then they start cutting all of his like authority on the film, and like it's more so that they're cutting his authority, not like sending a guy to punch up the dialogue like that. Right. That itself doesn't mean anything. It's more like just like, they keep doing shit to me, pissing me off. Yes, I agree.
So the constantly moving target, like having a move, trying to make a movie that like isn't finished in any number of different ways, proved too much for the seasoned Lin, who on April 23rd had a, quote, major disagreement with Diesel. The 4-person meeting had begun with Diesel having new notes. It ended with a slammed door. Quote, Justin finally had enough and said this movie is not worth my mental health, says one source. Both Lin and Diesel declined comment for this story.
It seems believable that there is a world where Justin Lin thought the script was done and Vin Diesel wanted to do a whole bunch of last-minute additions or addendums. I believe it.
Lin's departure was months in the making and offers a glimpse into the kind of high-pressure cooker environment that the movie series, now almost 21 years old, has become. It also illustrates how high the stakes are for the studio, Universal Pictures, its key star and producer, Diesel, and any director caught in the sturm and drang of making a mega blockbuster.
I also agree with that. I think that, like, Universal probably has a lot of pressure on them and him and this to be a success because, like, they're billion-dollar movies, like we say at this point. like they can't really afford to screw it up, right?
I don't know if I had copied the thing, but they said that Fast 9 or F9 made $726 million, which is, especially during a pandemic, is nothing to sneeze at, but was like a financial disappointment still for the studio because like it wasn't that billion-dollar movie.
Wow, can you imagine that? You make a movie that makes $700 million and you're like, oh, it could have been better.
Why didn't you make $1 billion? Why didn't you make 1.2? Why didn't you make 1.4? Sources tell The Hollywood Reporter that Fast 10's budget was hitting upwards of $300 million, and that was without any marketing or publicity spend. So generally, rough rule of thumb, which I've said on here before, you basically double the budget of the movie for marketing. So for a movie that Justin Lin did not have finished or whatever, that, not his fault, was going to maybe cost $600 million by the time it was all done. So...
And if the last one only made 700, they don't want to make $100 million on this movie.
Correct.
They want to make $1 billion, like $1 billion of profit on this movie. Not, yeah.
And the writing process for the movies was unorthodox, to say the least. Insiders say writers could pen action sequences, and Diesel would say yes or no to them, leaving the director the job of making them fit or not if Diesel changed his mind. The whole, quote, the whole process is a mosaic that never stops moving, says one insider was seen up close the making of several Fast movies. That seems like a crazy amount of power. I know that he's a producer. I know that he's like, this is his baby, but it's just like, hey, we wrote this scene. He's just like, nope.
And the fact that you could just like pen action sequences is fucking weird too.
I don't know. I mean, it's not like it's a dialogue thing. You're slaving over the like every word of it, but like you're probably, we talked about, speaking of the transporter or whatever, I'm like, why isn't the whole movie like this? And you're like, well, it's hard to do this. I'm like, yeah, but I mean, if you're making a movie, you should have more than just like one or two cool ideas. You should have like a handful of ideas that you put in the movie. But if you were like, okay, I have 5 cool ideas for Fast 10, and Vin's like, yeah, I don't like 3 of them. So it's like, okay, now I got to do 8, right? Because he already nixed 3 of them. So like, in that regard, yikes.
Yeah, it is wild to think that he has that much power, though, right? That there's like a director and a writer, and Vin can just be like, no, don't want that action sequence.
Yep. I don't remember if I had said this on air. I did say, I know last episode, that they were probably going to be able to continue with the second unit, which they were. But the process of not having a director was costing the studio upwards of $1 million a day just to keep the crew and locations on standby.
Yeah, that we talked about that because that's wild, but also makes sense that like, because you just have like all of the main stars just essentially sitting in their trailers.
Yep. And also the same thing is that like if you, especially with the bigger names and especially with the newer names, you're like, okay, Jason Momoa, we're going to pay you X million dollars for like 14 days or whatever, right? But if those 14 days become 21 or 28 or whatever because just nothing's happening, he's like, hey man, I would love to do this, but like I'm getting paid this other thing. I'm a star in this other, like I'm the lead of this other thing. Like I can't do this, right? So like there's that ticking time clock too.
Didn't we have like a situation where like Jordana Brewster was like running into like shooting conflicts in one of the movies, and like that's not Jason Momoa, right? Like who could be doing Aquaman 5?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter, but like yeah, you start to run into like serious conflicts with some of these other actors, and you're like, wow, this could get ugly.
Yep. And finding a director for the franchise wasn't going to be easy. Quote, you need someone who can play ball with the studio, Vin, and the actors, notes an agency partner. Quote, you can maybe count on 2 hands filmmakers that can take on this challenge. Most filmmakers will file this under life's too short. Obvious candidates, those who had previously helmed installments, were unavailable, but the production tried. F. Gary Gray, who made Furious 7, is in the middle of shooting a Kevin Hart movie for Netflix. James Wan... Wait, F. Gary did Fate the Furious. Come on, Hollywood Reporter. You're making me look the fool. F. Gary did Fate. You're wrong. Come on.
Okay.
James Wan, who did Fury 7, is in post-production on Aquaman and Lost Kingdom. David Leitch, who did Hobbs and Shaw, is due to shoot a Fall Guy feature to star Ryan Gosling this summer. Even if it were to pull him off that project, the studio risked losing Gosling to another project, or worse, angering the actor who might not want to push his schedule. So it sounded like David Leitch could do it, but they were like, we don't want to make Gosling upset, which I think is kind of, a little funny for us in particular.
Yes.
But just like, okay. Because David Leitch would have been a great pick, I think. But the last thing I have is Leterrier had, according to one insider, always been in contention for directing gigs for the Fast movies due to his experience and interest. Now he's getting his shot. So he always wanted to do it. Now he's able to do it. We'll see.
Also, like, if you wanted to do it, this is your shot to do too, right? Like, there's a high likelihood if Justin Lin is pissed off.
Oh, I don't think. Yeah, they have not talked about this at all. I don't They did not say. I have not seen Leterrier hired for 10 and 11 or whatever. I've seen Leterrier hired.
Right?
I don't know. The only thing I would really truly assume is Justin Lin is not back for 11.
I agree. I think that if he's soured, he's leaving.
And the other thing, I think Reaction Rocket or someone, I could check it, tweeted at us was the shoot they're doing now is only for 10. Like, we had sort of been like guessing at or whatever. They were doing like a Lord of the Rings thing where it was
10 and 11, but they're
movies?
only going to do half. Yeah.
But they're only doing the one.
That's what I'm saying. But do you think that now Leterrier is going to do both?
I don't know. I think
It's a good shot, I think. I think that you might get 2 movies out of this. Like, if this goes even decently, because you kind of like saved their skin. I
think that if this goes well, at the very least, Leterrier is going to be directing like another big action movie, whether it's Furious 11 or whatever. I don't know, but like if he makes Universal not look bad, he's going to be like a hero for the studio.
Yep,
so I don't know if that means getting Furious 11, because if all of a sudden just like David Leitch or Tarantino or Gareth Evans or someone who's like a huge action director or whatever is just like, no, I want to do it. They're like, okay, yeah, and like Louis, like, thank you, but like,
You're absolutely right. I didn't
onward
consider
and upward.
Because if Tarantino's like, I want to do Fast 11 for no reason.
As my final movie.
Yeah, as like my final movie, who's going to tell him no, right? Vin Diesel, apparently.
Yeah, I don't think he would. Like, I think that based on everything that's happened here, and the fact that like they don't have a lot of options, this is a different thing. Because if they're like, okay, we have some flexibility that we can like push Furious 11 out by like 6 months and make sure we have a director on like whatever. But like when it's literally costing $1 million a day to not do anything,
they have to have someone immediately. Yes.
Yeah. So
Agreed.
I would not be surprised if Leterrier got 11, but I don't think that's like a slam dunk fight. Yeah. No.
Okay, that's fair.
So speaking of Fast 10, Joe, is Dwayne Johnson in Fast 10?
No. He's
still no.
not.
But he is in Young Rock, Season 2, Episode 8, Corpus Christi. So since last week, I've gotten confirmation via Wiki that this season, like Season 1, will have 11 episodes. So it's going to have 3 more episodes. So, Joe, this is Episode 8 of 11, and The Rock has food poisoning.
He does. He's very sick.
But once again, doesn't matter because it's just like framing device for like the current story that like nobody really cares about, right? Like, do you care at all about the modern day story?
Nope, not at all. Doesn't matter to me. I get that they need a through line. I'm sure that it will come into play at some point, like the little kid heckling The Rock, guy on Twitter situation, but it doesn't matter to me. I honestly don't care about The Rock's presidency thing of this show,
right.
But
like I like seeing Dwayne and I like him and Randall Park together, but like the actual story, like I don't care. Like it's just like, okay, yeah, like this is
it's just a framing device, yeah.
Exactly. There was a fun thing where just like where Randall Park's like, we all have reason that we want to poison, and they're like, no, what? No, we don't. Like just So, but there's if you're a wrestling fan, obviously we're going to get into the wrestling elements of his career, but this feels like, oh, here's a lot of people that even I know as a wrestling, a non-wrestling fan, right? Just like we get Triple H and Mankind and Steve Austin, The Undertaker. Just like this is like a star-studded episode.
It's a star-studded episode. I'm in a lot of like Attitude Era meme groups, so I saw a ton of like quote-unquote spoilers for this episode because they were all going nuts about it. They were really, really amped. They were like stoked of like all the guys that were in it. So they've been hyped for pretty much like a week about this episode.
In classic Young Rock fashion, they have like the basically the baseball card, back to baseball card come up, like to show accomplishments or whatever, and like The Rock is calling all these people the GOAT, but it seems like, based on the way it was described, that like he feels like The Undertaker might be like the best of all time, or like he also said that maybe about Steve Austin, he's called Steve Austin the greatest of all time, but he calls The Undertaker like a 6 or 7 times GOAT. So like I get he's trying to like like I love all these guys, but it feels like he's got like a lot of love to go around here.
He got a lot of love to go around, but you have to remember that like The Undertaker is like one of the arguably greatest of all times, and because he was wrestling until like last year, dude, or like crazy. 2 years ago. So like it was from like the entire time that like The Rock is coming up, The Undertaker was already famous, and then like just like officially retired like 2 years ago. Like that run is insane. Yeah, it was probably like one of these kind of Ben Roethlisberger type situations where it's like they probably gave him a couple years too long, but like, who's gonna tell the Undertaker like stop wrestling, right?
Right.
Like, as long as he's wants to do it and it's okay, then like let him fucking do it. He's great. So I can see why The Rock gives him like extra GOAT status, just because like his career was like what, like 30, 40 years long. So
Sure. Insane.
yeah.
The big thing in the episode here is that The Rock has his first two, we only see one, but his first two WWF wrestling matches.
Yes.
We see his first one, he just talks about the second one, then he gets sent at the end of the episode back to Memphis, which
Kind
I
of
guess
full circle.
high school Dewey had been to, but this is a college Dewey. He's not in college anymore, but like it's still just college, high school, and little kid Dewey, right? So like high school is there currently, college is heading there toward the end of the episode, but it was cool to see, even though it's sort of predictable, like I got like, dramatic TV moment chills when like he makes his comeback and like gets the crowd into it. I'm like, this is cool. Like this is good.
I thought this episode was the best this season.
Probably.
And not even because it had like Stone Cold and whatever, like Mankind, all these guys in it. I think you're absolutely right. Seeing him like turn the crowd around, seeing him like knowing that he goes back to Memphis to hang out with the guy who pretty much was like taking care of him while he was in Memphis. You know what I mean? Like that's cool. Like, and I'm really excited to see where this part goes, because now we have like he rejoins an established character. Just story wise, he rejoins an established character. He starts to begin his run in the WWE. So like we're gonna see him like break in situations. Like, he's going to start to, like, get his chops, work his way up and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm really, really stoked. This was a great one.
And like you pointed out last time, he once again at the end of this episode says he's got family in Memphis, so he uses the family line. The only other thing that I wrote down about this episode that I really liked is that for like a moment, Randall Park does the Rock thing where he's like, this reminds me of a time that I was in college. And I was at UCLA, and we were doing an all-Asian adaptation of the Hudsucker Proxy, and The Rock's just like, what are you doing? Like, this isn't your story.
Yeah.
But I like seeing, like, for a moment, like, college Randall Park just, like, about to act in, like, a play or whatever. So I thought that was funny.
I thought that was really funny, and in the same scene, one of the only other notes that I have is that right behind Randall Park right there, The Rock has a book of, like, muscle cars in the background.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah, so maybe he's Team American Muscle, not Team Imports.
Ooh, wow. Any other notes about this one or no? I mean, like, I agree with you. I think it's probably the best episode of the season, but anything else we have not covered yet about Corpus Christi?
No, I think it was great. I'm excited to see where it goes. Now, we shift them, so, like, now I'm expecting that we don't get another, like, college Dewey episode next, and I hate that they keep, like, splitting up the story, because once I get like really into one, then they move us to the other one. So I don't know how effective that is. I guess you kind of have to do it. You have to do like a round robin. There's no other way that like could make, you know what I mean? Like, what do you do? Like a whole season of like young Dewey and then like a whole season of middle Dewey? Like, I don't think it would work, but it's also just frustrating as a viewer.
Yeah. And I don't know. Like, I feel like
get what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, like, as the other two kids are like growing up, because I feel like college Dewey, the actor, is basically like that's just what he's going to look like. But especially for like elementary school Dewey, like he's going to age up in a hurry.
Yeah.
So either they move him forward, they just cut back his stories, or I don't know, who knows what. But again, good show, worth watching, worth checking out. Corpus Christi, probably the best episode of the season. Probably one of the better ones overall, just because like. It feels like they know what they're doing, and also having all the stars and just having a college Dewey and all, everything. It's just it's good. It's firing all cylinders.
Yeah, it's
right
hitting for sure. It definitely is. I agree.
The final thing to do before we take a break and bring in Brian Late Night Slumber Party Rodriguez to talk about Fast and Furious is the Too Fast, Too Furious minute 60, a minute I called one of Miami's finest.
What's all that? We're gonna have a little fun.
Thank you.
Get at it.
Hey, Carter.
Meet Detective Whitworth. One of Miami's finest. Thank you, sweetheart. You enjoying yourself, Detective?
Yeah, I was. I mean, you know me.
Yeah.
So in this minute, Brian, Roman, Carter, Monica, Enrique, and Roberto move, seemingly in slow motion, to a back room within the Pearl. Carter opens a bottle of champagne, pours some for himself, and Monica, the seductress, brings Detective Whitworth, the rat cop, to the back room where everyone is set up. She leaves as Carter introduces Whitworth to Brian and Roman and begins some small talk with Whitworth as the minute ends. Again, like, we're getting toward a thing. We're going to be in the rat scene for a while, but, like, you know, not a ton happens here. And I hate saying that after a minute where, like, literally nothing happened, but not a lot happens.
No, definitely not a lot happens here. We just change rooms finally, but even, like, dialogue, story, whatever, like, we just bring Whitworth in. That's pretty much exactly what happens, so...
My real, like, question here is I'm not sure what the seductress is thinking, because she brings him in, she's flirty, but, like, she just, like, walks away like it's all business or whatever. But, like, did you ever read on, like, is she on... Because obviously Whitworth is on Carter's payroll. I had mentioned in a previous minute that, like, I think he's paying her too, but you weren't so sure. Like, what is her role in all of this?
Yeah, it's, like, collect this man's type situation. But it's also weird because, like, would he just, like, hang out in Carter's club? So, like, is she necessary, right? That's what I'm thinking while I'm watching this. Does Carter really need a girl that just, like, walks this cop into the back room for him when, like, he's already in his club, so, like, he could just be like, yo, come to this room, or whatever, right? Like, Monica could have done the same job, essentially, without seducing him. He kind of just forced him to come there.
Yeah.
It's just bizarre. I really don't know. I have to assume that they're leading us to believe that Carter did pay her to walk the detective in, but the detective already knows who Carter is, so he's already on the payroll. This would be like more of a first-time engagement situation, in which case I don't know if he would be at Carter's club, but I don't know.
I don't know. Like, we don't get a lot, and I hope we're going to find some more about Detective Whitworth here, but there's a lot of, like, implied backstory about these characters, right? That just, like...
But he knows Carter because he says, you know me, and he's like, yep, I do, you know, so, like, there's an implied history between the two.
Right. Oh, and I forgot that in the next minute, there's something about, like, you've been on the payroll for a while, because, like, I copied a bunch of dialogue to the document, so I think in the next minute, it's like, you've been on the payroll for a while now, so, like, I cut that because we didn't get there in this minute, but I think we're going to know that, like, there's more backstory here between the two, so
yeah,
for sure more going to come in the next minute.
This doesn't seem like a first-time meeting. Even if, like, you know, he knew that Carter was a criminal and, like, had known who he was, it still doesn't seem like a first time of them meeting, right? Like, I've heard about you or something, as opposed to, like, you know me.
Right. Yeah. What did you notice in the scene? Because, again, there's, you know, we're in a new place. There's some stuff. There's the one Buddha statue with the pearls draped on it I thought was so tacky and also funny, like, kind of unintentionally funny. Just like, why? I know you're the pearl, but why? But what did you notice in this minute?
Yes, I did like the Buddha statue with the pearls on it, because it seems kind of placed, but you're right, like, also, like, not placed, like, very tacky. Like, it was like, oh, well, like, you know, we named it the pearl, so just, like, get some pearls and throw it on that Buddha over there, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense. There's a bunch of stuff on the table that I'm sure we'll see soon, like gloves. The three zip ties being laid out as if they're bottle service is pretty interesting to me.
Hey, you know, whatever you need, we're here to suit your needs. If you need 3 zip ties,
no, but just like the way that they're like fanned,
yeah,
you know what I mean, and like perfectly like spread, as opposed to just like, because you have like a bucket that's covered. Like, who set this up, right? Because they're criminals, so you'd be like, oh, okay, like you just have like all this shit in a bag, which doesn't look great for film, but like that's what you'd probably do, right? Like you throw it like all in like a grocery bag or something. Meanwhile, like, it's laid out like it's bottle service, so, like, where did this come from? Who set it up, and why? Like, so they also... Now you just have somebody that just knows that you needed a blowtorch and zip ties in this back room and displayed it like bottle service.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how much... Like, Carter obviously owns this club, right? So, like, he's able to do whatever he wants, but it does feel like the way he flaunts his, like, shady or just, like, weird shit is... It's strange. I mean, it's keeping in line with Carter being, you know, a lunatic, but, like, it's still just, like... You're really just putting it out there that, like, you're just doing weird shit, right? So...
the person who organized this has to be one of the like bottle service girls, right? Because it's laid out and displayed in like a weird fashion. So like now you have her as like an accomplice in like actual criminal activity as opposed to just being like a bottle service girl at your club. Interesting choice. You're definitely a madman.
Yeah.
But you got the detectives on the payroll, so who knows?
Yeah, for sure. Anything else, though, of note in this club scene, or should we just wait till the next minute and see what else is going on there?
I got a bunch of stuff listed here, but nothing's like super, super interesting. Something that I thought was funny just because we saw Carter in the last scene is like there's already a cigar in an ashtray like sitting next to him. So did he carries the cigar with him, right? Like, so but like he already has like an established ashtray that's like right in his hand spot there. They open a bottle of champagne. I couldn't see what brand it was, but it's just like normal tacky shit. I marked a bunch of it, but it's just normal tacky shit. Nothing of interest, I don't think.
Yeah, I think it's all just like it's
Bullshit.
not interesting in a weird kitschy way like the first movie, right? It's just like, yeah, there's things in the club. Like we can't just have like empty tables, so like put champagne there. Yeah, that's good.
The displayed zip ties are what got me. That was my main interest of this one because I'm just like, why? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So the trivia question, I think there's an obvious question or an obvious answer here, or an obvious question. I had it right the first time. What is the name of the rat cop on Carter's payroll?
Excellent.
And I have these names here. Do you? I mean, it's. I think it's obvious, but do you see the theme here that I put together? The answer's Faneca, Matthews, Munoz, Ogden, and Whitworth.
No, I don't see the theme other than Alan Faneca was a football player for the Steelers.
They're all offensive linemen. Some of the greatest offensive linemen of all time.
That
Bruce
makes
Matthews,
sense.
Anthony Munoz, Jonathan Ogden, Alan Faneca. I did the Faneca thing for you for the tip-off. And Andrew Whitworth, of course, just won a Super Bowl with the Rams. He's been around forever, right?
So. That's right. Okay, cool. Perfect. I like it. Excellent. I'm sorry that I only got the one, but yeah.
Because the one that you got was the one I'm like, oh, that's the one that's gonna solve it for him. He's gonna know it's like, oh yeah, Whitworth, okay, yeah. But like in my head, the first Whitworth is just Andrew Whitworth, the offensive tackle for the Rams, big part of Hard Knocks, and also he's on the Bengals for a while, right? So
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay,
awesome.
Who else can we
Excellent choices. You did good. I'm sorry that I didn't catch on, but I did. I think I got like a quarter of a catch on.
It's weird that you like figured out what the one. I mean, not that Faneca's an uncommon. It's not a common name, right? So you knew where that was going, but it still didn't.
I see Matthews, and I'm in hockey mode right now, so I'm thinking Austin Matthews, and then I think Munoz. I'm like Frankie Munoz, and I'm like, is that how he spells it? And then like Ogden, I was like, okay, that sounds familiar, but like, yeah, the Matthews thing, I only think of Austin Matthews right now because it's hockey season. So,
all right, Joe. Any other thoughts about this minute 60, one of Miami's finest, which is what Carter calls Andrew Whitworth, or not Andrew Whitworth, Jesus, Detective Whitworth.
I have a question. Do you think that we get to the rattening within the next minute?
I don't know. I remember when we watched this movie most recently, I was thinking about, oh, we're here for a while, and I would not be. I think we're in this room for another 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, which is going to be unbearably long. But I think given how long we're here, I don't know if we get to the rat next minute. I have no idea. So I'm going to say no.
Okay. I was just curious. Like, I just want to you're off the top of the cuff.
I don't think so. I think given how long we're going to be here, I don't think so.
There's like another minute of dialogue before they like strap him down and mouse him.
Like I don't. This is going to be an exaggeration, but there might be even like a full minute of like strapping him down or something.
Yeah, fair. I think so too.
I don't know. All right, Joe. Let's take a break. Let's bring in Brian and let's talk about Fast and Furious.
Welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. This is episode number 237, Fast and Furious. This episode's brought to you by the Grave Robber Unholy Rye. What would happen if they tapped some of their sinister sap and added it to their whiskeys? They found out. Shout out to Tamsworth Distilling.
Well, shout out to them, and welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. I realized that we should have done The Shining for this episode, because do you know why we should have done The Shining, Joe?
Why?
Room 237. I was like, why does the number 237 mean something? Because it's the name of that documentary, but like it's a very particular hotel room in The Shining. So
yes, it is.
237. This is the Shining episode. Welcome with our Shining guest. We can do that way. Shining guest at Oh My Rodriguez on Twitter. We have Brian Rodriguez. Hello, Brian.
Hi.
Trying to boost your personal brand. Everybody knows High School Slumber Party, but nobody knows Oh My Rodriguez.
Yes, trying to boost the personal brand, as I have some things in the works, as I've had for a while. None of them are a pop-up, but they are cool stuff coming. So thank you for having me once again. Which one are we doing today? Which one?
We are doing Fast and Furious number 4, 2009. So two things before we get into this movie. There are two things that have happened since we stopped recording the intro about an hour ago. Number one, Reaction Rocket tweeted at us, every May the 4th, I get to thinking that I wish there were a day like this for Fast and Furious fans, but I've never been able to think of what day it should be. If only there were 13 months in the year, it could be 1327. Damn you, Earth's rotation around the sun. Slow down. Hashtag FastX. And then he said, at Too Fast, Too Forever, any suggestions? And Joe, you said, actually, I'm not going to say what you said because I want to see if Brian has an idea. Because obviously, the first date that popped into my mind was 1327.
Agreed.
Was
Same.
our January 3rd, 2027 barbecue that we're going to have at 1327.
Yes.
But Brian, if you were going to celebrate on an annual basis, like today as we record is May the 4th, the Star Wars Day, May the 4th be with you. Is there a day of the year that you would nominate as Fast and Furious Day?
Because the problem is, so I was thinking, movie things, like Too Fast, Too Furious, but that's already Groundhog's Day too. So, and that's not a popular installment of the series.
It's your favorite though, isn't it? It's up there.
Well, I mean, we'll talk about it today. I'm vacillating on this series, but
on the series,
we'll get into it. But I don't know. This is a really, really tough one.
Joe, do you want to share your idea?
Yeah, I went, which is actually strangely, now that you said it out loud, close to 1327. But I went January 4th, which is quarter mile at a time.
Oh, I like that.
So we could do 1-4.
So here's what's exciting, Joe, is that in 2027 we celebrate 1327, right?
Yes.
Wake up the next day, look out from across the street at 1327 because we hang out there, but we have our dream, right? We own the house across the street.
Yes.
Next day we celebrate 1-4, and then 2 days later we celebrate 1-6. We just have a day in between of downtime.
I'm not a
the day that the conservatives had a pop-up in front of
they have their own pop-up in Washington D.C.
I have my own Twitter account now. I'm trying to be PC. I'm not going to comment.
Did you have an idea?
No, I think 1-4 is good because I think the first date I thought it was 1327.
Yeah.
The thing is that there's not a lot of numbers associated with the franchise, right? Like I don't know. Let me think about it.
Really not. Yeah, really not.
Well, the other thing is I get the Apple News Digest, and there's a People article that's titled Helen Mirren is still growing up. Quote, I want to go through life as an adventure. And I mean, what better adventure than driving fast cars in the Fast and Furious? She's living her dream. She's living her best life.
A quarter mile at a time.
Quarter mile at a time on January 4th. So, Brian, welcome back to the show. Fast and Furious number 4. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. So I teased this, and I might as well get it off my chest. I had a hard time watching this one.
Really?
Why?
I've seen it so many times, first of all.
Fair.
This is my first time watching it.
Oh, yeah, I figured.
I thought it was pretty good.
I thought it'd be hilarious if this was the big reveal at the end of the podcast, whenever Forever ends, is that you never actually, Joey, watched a single one. You were just going off Joe's opinions and faking it till you make it.
You just did, like my sister, and I think I'm gonna make a generalization. I think this is like a Zoomer thing that because I know that she's not the only one that does it, but my sister will call me, or I'll call her and be like, hey, you should watch this movie. She'll be like, oh wow, the guy dies and this thing happens, crazy, I'll watch it. And I'm like, what? And she's just had read the Wikipedia of the plot summary. So what if Joey was just doing that? He just read the Wikipedias of it.
What a weird life. No, okay, so Fast 5 is now by far and away my favorite Fast and Furious movie.
Yep.
And it is kind of technically, but this just feels like a prequel to Fast 5, that I'm watching this and I'm like, this is cool, but I can't wait till Fast 5.
Yep.
Like they are building to Fast 5, which is so awesome. This movie was so necessary, right? Like you had to just reset the series, bring it back to where they wanted it to be, and then Fast 5. I saw this in the theater. I was so excited for this because I'd seen Tokyo Drift, I'd seen Too Fast, Too Furious, and I thought the series was just going to devolve into spin-off movies. Mm-hmm. But then you know, at the end of Tokyo Drift, you're like, wait, Dom came back? And then this is coming out, and I was so excited. And I was so, because I'm a Too Fast, Too Furious junkie, was so waiting for Roman to show up. And he didn't show up. And I remember being angry outside the theater. I'm like, are they just erasing Too Fast, Too Furious? Thankfully, they've pretty much brought almost every character back.
Yeah, they slow play their hand, right? They're like, we're going to bring him back in 5. Don't you worry.
Yeah, so I was eventually rewarded, and people die and come back. So, you know, you get to be rewarded multiple times on this franchise if you want characters to return.
You know, actually, very quickly, not to derail you, but speaking of characters returning, there's a line that I noticed this time that I maybe never noticed before, which still feels crazy. This is the 11th time we talked about it. And I definitely read this off the wiki, and I did not watch the movie. As we all know, I don't watch these movies. Okay. I just read the wiki. But speaking of characters returning, when they're at that, like, beachside barbecue or whatever at the beginning of the movie after the heist, right? And yes. Han's there, and you're like, hey, how is Han? Han just died, right? Like, how is Han here? And he says to Dom, cops just raided our garage in Baracoa. And I'm like, huh. So they had a garage in Cuba, because Baracoa is Cuba. And this is a line like we don't go back to Cuba. We don't go to Cuba, I mean, until 8, right? I think this mostly because like we weren't like allowed to go to Cuba as a country. But I never noticed this before, that like it's the return, it's this like establishing a past, like a history of other locations, and I never heard this before, and I don't know why. I think because the whole thing is just like, I think when you're watching it the first time, you're like, how is Han here? But it's also just like, this is weird, like why isn't Han sticking around? But yeah, cops just raided our garage in Baracoa, and I'm just like, huh, okay, so I guess theoretically we could go back to Cuba at some point. I don't know.
That is interesting.
Well, we did go back to
Cuba. Well, I know, but we didn't really do anything there. There was like a honeymoon-ish sort of thing, right? And then he races the guy who's bullying his cousin, and then Cypher's there to, you know, pick on him or whatever, right? But like, they didn't really do anything in Cuba.
Okay, yeah, time-wise, that they definitely did go back to Cuba, though, because like Han dies before they're in Cuba, so we did already go back to Cuba.
So they've been to Cuba before 4, because as we know in Los Bandoleros, the short film that Vin Diesel directed, still sadly the only thing Vin Diesel has directed in this franchise.
I love Los Bandoleros.
It's great, but like in that one, Han shows up, and like Dom already knows him from past jobs, right? So like maybe they did a job together in Cuba, right? And now they're in the Dominican, they're in the DR, right? So I don't know.
I was going to bring up the Dominican thing because, again, I'm a Dominican American, and that was cool to see in the movie, you know, because it felt so real. Because, like, I'm waiting for this franchise to come out, and I've heard Vin Diesel likes it there, but he shoved it in the movie, and he shoved Los Bandoleros. Well, he didn't shove it in the movie, but he did it, right? So I thought that was really, really cool. Another thing I'll bring up, so let me just get all my points out of the way.
Sure, whatever you want to do, man.
Whatever you want.
It's basically my show. Yeah, exactly.
After all. You know this probably from previous episodes. I'm a big Braga guy.
Your name in Zencastr right now is Braga.
John Ortiz is one of the most underrated like American actors out there. He is so cool. If you look at his IMDb, he's in so much stuff. This is one of the first places I ever saw him play like a big bad, right? Like he's usually not that. I mean, he is sometimes, but I really kind of latch onto him from doing my podcast with the former Cage Club podcast host, Kyle Reinfried. We did a podcast called P.S. I Love Hoffman.
Was it a pop-up podcast?
Yes. The films of Philip Seymour Hoffman. And John Ortiz and Philip Seymour Hoffman were frequent theater collaborators. So they were in Jack Goes Boating together. You know, he's like a cool New York actor. And I remember like getting into his work and then looking at the IMDb like, holy shit, he played Braga, and getting so excited. I like these like, I know he wasn't a one-off because he kind of returns, but I love these like one-off sort of bad guys that we are getting earlier in the series, right? What's the dude's name in Fast Five? I love the movie so much I can't even remember his name.
Reyes.
Well,
like, your boy Carter Verone.
Carter Verone,
as we're going
I was
through
just
the
going to
Too
mention.
Fast minute, we're just like, he's so weird. Like, there feels like there's untapped potential with Carter Verone because, like, the things he does, like, make sense, but it's just like, what? Like, you're so weird. What are you doing? And he's never come back, right? He's ostensibly just in prison, just chilling.
I want him to come back so bad. And again, Cole Hauser is having a moment on Yellowstone, right? Like, he is a name now. He's in, like, Good Will Hunting when he's young. He's in a bunch of stuff. I don't know. He's talented. That Carter Verone character, you're absolutely right, is weird as hell. Like, he's like just this Argentinian, supposedly, in the movie. Just overprotective. I don't know. Bring Carter Verone back. I'm glad they brought Braga back. I want like a Sinister Six of Fast and Furious villains. The later ones, right? Like, it's all connected.
Well, Braga is connected too. Like, that's what we learned, right? Like, Braga is tied into all of that. He's just not at the time.
He's just a lesser tied-in person, though, you know? Like, he's not high on that totem pole. Do you think he's in that, like, highest level?
No, I don't think so. I think given time, he would probably work his way up. We also don't know if Cypher is the top of that totem pole or if there's a face above her.
But he's an international an international gangster that runs essentially a cartel.
Yeah, but
right?
international,
so,
like U.S. Mexico, is like as low class, as like low on the international totem pole as you can possibly get. The only thing lower is U.S. Canada. It's like, okay.
I don't think there's too many U.S. Canadian cartel members.
Hey, man, there's probably a TV show.
It exists. Yeah, exactly.
It definitely exists for like vapes and stuff. I could see that.
Yeah. They sell like prescription drugs.
But Brian, you were saying you didn't like that. It was hard for you to watch this one this time. Why is that? Just
not because it was necessarily bad.
It's too setup-y?
It's just that, again, I know what comes next and I know how good it is. It feels like not that I hate this movie, but if you've ever watched the Indiana Jones trilogy, it feels like Temple of Doom to that. It feels like not that Temple of Doom leads to the Last Crusade, but it's like it just feels like a stop on the way.
Oh yeah, because 2 of those 3 original movies are like perfect movies, and there's Temple of Doom, right? Like it's just
which isn't bad, but it's just
of course you do. It's the bad one.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
It's my favorite.
I think it's objectively the worst of the 3. It's a good movie as opposed to a great movie. It's also just weird.
It is very
why
weird.
I love it.
I argued it's a foodie film to Kyle. There's a lot of eating of people and stuff.
Has he done that as a famous food scene?
I asked him to. I might have even done it with him. I don't remember. That show hasn't been on for 4 years.
So we have a conversation starter question. Do you want to keep saying your thoughts, or do you want to dive in? Do you want us to ask you the question for this lap?
No, ask me some conversation starters. That's really what I had today. A lot of, honestly, some of the most interesting things were the beginning.
Sure. You mean the opening, like the heist?
Yeah, the opening heist and seeing the crew together, right? The Dom Brian reunited thing is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's something I definitely have on my list. This is what I had in my notes. Oh, it's weird to see Giselle as like this ambiguous character, you know?
Yes.
Like,
knowing that like later she's like Han's girlfriend. And,
Han's girlfriend. All in too with the team, right? Like here she's like, she almost feels like a Bond girl here. She does shit, but it's like, you know what I mean?
Well, what's nice in the Bond sense, it's like Ana de Armas in No Time to Die, where it's just like, you're so cool. Well, actually, no, that's a bad example because she only like in the one scene. But like, it's like, why are you not in it more? It's like, well, you know, maybe she'll come back. Although the Ana de Armas thing is, I guess, essentially over because we're going to reboot Bond again, right? Because there's no more Daniel Craig. So I don't know. But yes, I would say for sure. She's like the seductive, whatever.
Mysterious, villainous.
Because there definitely are Bond girls that Bond does not get with, right? Like there are Bond girls that are like, he either helps or like is around, but there's like somebody else in the picture. So there's like movies with multiple attractive women. Because like she kind of comes on to him. He's just like, hey man, it ain't you, right? So.
Yeah, there is sexual tension. It's just not.
How could there not be?
It's just weird in that context for like what we learn from Giselle and what she becomes, which again, you could say that about anything. Like Tej didn't look like one of the greatest hackers of all time in Too Fast, Too Furious. You know what I mean? He was just like some dude running shit in Miami. So there are character evolutions, obviously, in the series. There has to be. But I thought that was something that was not necessarily jarring in a bad way, but interesting on this watch, noticing the Giselle character and her origins.
For sure. So now, actually, that might answer the question here. We don't know. But every movie this lap, because this is the heist lap, we're doing all our pit stops are heist movies. And so we are building the ultimate heist team. As a reminder from last movie, we both agree that it's Patrick Swayze, it's Bodhi, he's just the pick.
Yeah.
I was thinking about putting up on Patreon Bodhi or Johnny Utah. I'm just like, I'm not going to. It's just going to be, it's Bodhi because it's Bodhi. So Bodhi's on the team. And at the end of the lap, Brian, we are going to pick a heist team, either each of us or the patrons or who knows what. We got nothing but time to figure that out. But if we were building a heist team and we need to nominate a character from this movie, who is your pick? Who is the nomination? And what is your reasoning? Why do you think they are more deserving than anyone else in this movie? And just for reference, you can pick, like, if you, I mean, you're only going to be on this one. You'll be on other movies this lap. We're not, I don't know if we're going to do it in the Patreon. We might, who knows? I don't know. We'll figure that out. But, like, if you were on multiple Fast and Furious ones, like, you could pick Dom for every movie. If you think Dom in that movie is the best pick, you can pick Dom. That can always be your pick.
So you could have a whole, like, essentially the meme of just, like, family.
Right. So you don't have to, like,
team of
not
just
pick
Doms.
someone because there's a better version of them later. If you think, for instance, Dom or Brian or Letty or me or whatever is, like, the best in this, but you're like, also, I love them in 7 or whatever, that's also fine. So, do you have someone here that you would trust more than anyone else for your heist team? Or do you want a little time to think about that and Joe and I can give our answers?
No, I mean, because it's Giselle for me. Because
okay.
I think
my transition into this was perfect. You mentioned Giselle,
Yep.
like, here we go. Okay, cool.
Because I think that if you just watch this in a bottle for whatever reason, right? Or I'm putting myself in the mindset of in the theater seeing this. She was one of the most intriguing characters, if not the most intriguing character. So when she returned, it made sense because she was cool and they were clearly assembling an all-star team for the much better Fast Five. So yeah, it's Giselle for me, and it would have been from day one. So yeah, that's my pick.
Okay.
I think she's an excellent, excellent choice. She was on my short list for sure. I absolutely agree with you, Brian. I think that she has a lot of skills here that we see. She's on the dark side a little bit, so we know she can, play criminal. That's good. There's actually, to be honest, in this movie, there was a lot of good options, I thought at least.
Okay, so who's your pick? If you have to pick one, because I really only have one. I could go to bat for 2, but I have one that I'm hoping you don't take.
I have to go Brian in this one.
Fuck, that's what I want. That's okay. Yeah.
Okay, because I think that we see the parkour. We see that he's playing both sides of the line already. And I don't think, I know that we shouldn't really use foresight, but I don't think he gains any more skills in the franchise that he doesn't already establish here.
Yeah.
So I think that this is pretty much it's a fully formed Brian. I think that this is your shot to take him. I like Giselle. I think she does get better as the time goes on. We see her do motorcycle riding and you know what I mean, all kinds of heisty. When she's with the family, she has more quote unquote skills than she does here. So that's why I was you know what? I think I got to go Brian this one. But I was thinking, and I think there's a good case to be made for even Braga in this one.
Okay.
Letty at the beginning, we see so little of her, but then that first heist, this is actually a pretty good Letty. She's jumping from the truck to truck, all this kind of stuff happening too. Han is a great pick from this one with his reverse the car up and stuff, but also he's in it for just a little bit. So I think there's a lot of good options. I'm going Brian in this one though.
So can I rebuttal that quickly?
Please, yeah, go ahead.
So we do see more of Giselle's skills in later films. But she has them here. It's not like she learned skills later. I'm going to argue that Giselle gets weaker in later films because she has more. She has more to care about.
She has
right?
more to lose,
she has
right?
Han, yeah, more to lose. She has the family. Here, she's just rogue, and she's more a mercenary here, and I liked that. I liked that aspect about her. And if you're going to build a heist team, I know in this series we'll tell you that family motivates you, but actually, if you ever watch a documentary on TV about real mercenaries or real
criminals,
hitmen, It's the ones who like don't have the family that are the ones that are the most dangerous because they have less to lose. So that's why I picked
and
her.
like going back for your wife is like what gets you, right? Like or
Yeah,
your
exactly.
kid, like that's when you get busted.
No, that's what we saw in Heat, right? Like it's De Niro's like his need for vengeance that like fucks him over in the end, and that's what
Yep.
you know. Val Kilmer, it both helps him and hurts him. Like it motivates him, but also like he you know, like that's. But I think that's what makes compelling dramatic characters, right? It's like if you just have like mercenaries, it's just like okay, like they're great at what they do, but like why do I root for them?
I agree, but we're not casting a film.
Oh no, I agree. Believe me,
team.
I'm not trying to play devil's advocate. We did it in the first episode. It was a 35-minute argument. It was great radio, as they say. But okay,
No, but this is a great argument. I think Brian, your points are excellent. Those are well founded. They make a strong case. Like I said, Giselle was on my short list, and those are good points.
so my pick was going to be Brian. I will not pick Brian because I think it's just more interesting if we have three different people. But my pick was Brian. My points for Brian was that he's far more. So, okay, I do want to say after we did Too Fast, obviously Brian goes, the order that we go in. And we're like, nobody, can we pick nobody? Because like they all kind of suck in this. Like they're not good at what they do. It feels like none of them would be good in a heist. We're just like, it's hard to pick. Like I guess we're gonna pick like I picked Jimmy and Joe. Like we just picked like it sucked, right? It was just like this is like the best of a bad option, right?
Yeah.
Whoa! My whole team is Suki.
I know, but like Suki, we don't know anything about really. But whatever. But what I loved about
Bend over, boy.
What I loved about this movie, though, in terms of the heist thing and the heist lap, is that this movie starts with a heist, and it also starts with like, oh, right, our team is good at things. After a movie where they're just like wrestling in dirt and whatever, right? It's just like, okay, cool. Like, no, they're good at things. It's nice to see that they are not only planning and calculating and like methodical, but they're also capable of taking down a big heist. So it was just nice to see that return to form.
Yeah, so Joey, to your point, it's something again that made me look forward to Fast Five, but that is the purpose of this movie. It's not just a return to form. It's a switch of genre. Yes, there's racing in here, but it's like, oh, this series is going to be like a heist crime drama more than it is going to be about street racers necessarily. So I'm in agreement with what you're saying is my point.
So I was going to go with Brian. Not you, Brian, but Brian O'Connor, because I felt like he was far more competent and capable. I felt like he is planting meth on Dwight is the exact kind of scumbaggery we need.
Yep.
I like that he's
a gearhead now.
Yeah, Buster became a gearhead. I like that he sees the bigger picture. He's like, don't run this bust out in front of the media. Play the long game. Let's take Braga down altogether. It also translates criminality. I think that all works. But since you picked Brian, I will let you have that. I'm building your case because I do think Brian's a good pick here. But since I want to have a separate pick, I will pick Dom Toretto, and I'm going to use...
Excellent pick.
I'm going to use Brian's logic for Giselle that she gets more to lose. Who has less to lose than a man who just lost the love of his life? Like, he is out for vengeance. He doesn't care if he lives or dies. He's going to find out the pussy who runs Nitro Meth. He's going to take them out. Dom is clearly, obviously, he's always great. I know that he's always been, he came fully formed, I think. He just gets physically bigger. But I do think that all of the skills that we're seeing Brian develop from the first and second movie into this, Dom also takes that same kind of like transcendent leap to the next tier. And he's a great racer still. He is strong. He's able to like dangle a guy out the window without even like, flex. It's just effortless. And I think that he is successful. He's capable. He is loyal. I think Giselle's a great pick, but I don't think we have enough of her to pick her here. I think Mia is, obviously I love Mia, but she's still being formed. We only have 15 minutes of Letty. And so I think overall, in my heart I say Brian, but I think a great choice here, maybe a better choice, would be Dominic Toretto.
I like Dom, and I thought this too. I do like the caveat that like Dom seeking vengeance for Letty is a great Dom.
Right.
But I didn't know if that supersedes like Dom trying to protect his son.
Oh, that's a good point.
Like, I don't know which Dom... Like, the Dom that can fight the entire family essentially by himself is, like, a super, super Dom, right? Like, that's...
So, Joe, you're into Doms, obviously.
Yes.
What do you look for in a Dom?
Like, usually, like, bald and muscly.
Do you know what I learned this time around?
Somebody that just lost his wife. Like, these kind
You
of
know what I
things.
did learn this time around is that Stasiak's first name. Do either of you remember? Did you hear Stasiak's first name?
Sean.
I'm going to guess Peter.
No. Much more boring.
What is it?
Michael.
Stan.
Michael.
Michael? That's stupid.
Michael Stasiak. I think he introduces himself to Mia as Michael Stasiak. I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
This is the serious question I had written down, but I don't want to jump off the Dom thing this quickly because I did actually want to ask you this question, both of you. What film is peak Dom? Like, if you had to give me stats for Dom, like the most badass Dom, or like, you know,
I think it's
the
6.
6, you think so?
Well,
You
6.
can make a good argument for 6, but like what I was saying before, I think 8 against, like, when he pretty much fights the family himself is
I think
peak
the
Dom.
issue with 8 is that he's got his hands tied by Cypher. Like, he's not able to fully. I mean, like, I know that he navigates those waters, but he's hemmed in.
Okay, so divorce it from that for a second.
Well, no, 'cause
Like,
I think in 6 he does the most spectacular things. I think he literally
The
catches
jumping
Letty.
across the bridge. Yeah.
I think he also, remember, it's the jumping flying headbutt on the plane.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Dom and 6 are just like, oh, he's doing like literal superhero things here. Like, that's the one where like 5 is crazy and 5, you know, the dragon is safe through the streets of Rio, but 5 is still for the most part pretty grounded. 6 is where it takes the leap to like, oh, we're playing with different rules now. And I feel like a lot of that is because of Dom. Like, Dom's always going to be like a higher level in terms of like an RPG. Like, he's always going to be a higher level than everybody else. But I feel like
Yes.
6 is the first one you're like, oh shit, like he's super powered.
Broken it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's at 99. He just maxed. I think that, yes, that's very, very true. And I think that that's just like a hair under, just like he's so strong in 8 that he can fight the family still being handicapped, which is like, you know, like he's being restricted and still putting out this crazy amount of like power and energy and like doing insane things. So that's why, like, I think he's just inches him out in 8, and only because you have the evidence of like him fighting the entire family. It takes like the whole rest of them to sustain, like to cage him, and he has Cypher who's also handicapping him. So it's like, what could he be if he broke through both, right?
Yeah. Brian, what do you think? What do you think is peak Dom?
No, so watching this, I was trying to figure that out, but there is a case for both 6 and 8. I'd have to go back. I was just curious with what you guys thought. I'd have to go back and really, if only there was a podcast that reviewed all the films, so I could figure it out. But both of you make very compelling points there. I'm less a Vin guy than ever. I am Team Rock all the way.
Team Lin. Now it's Team Lin or Team Vin. That's a much cleaner, rhymey way than Team Vin or Team Rock, right?
Lin or Vin.
Yeah, but I just think that the Lin thing and the Rock thing are related. I think this guy
100%.
is difficult to work with, but people were denying this for a while. I mean, who complains about the Rock? Honestly, like that doesn't happen.
One
And
little
suddenly-
fucking bully on Young Rock. That's all.
Yeah.
A fictional character.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And I saw seeds of this since then. The dude is just so freaking cocky. It's like he saw The Rock have like Moana songs and like hit things, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna make music now too." It's just, I don't know. I'm not to poo-poo on this franchise because it is your baby here, but like this shit is making me less excited for the 10th one. I'm of course gonna see it. I'll be there, but like,
Well, you're gonna be with that. We're gonna be there with us. I think it even goes to show like so much of what this network and what my podcasts, like the ones I do with Mike, the ones I do with Joe, are based in is positivity, right? It's like I want to embrace things. I want to find the good
100%,
things. And for like literally hundreds of episodes, I'm like, we don't want to say a bad thing about it. Like we don't want to say like who's right, Vin or Rock, because like we, you know, I would love more than anything else to talk to Vin Diesel about these movies. But like it's impossible to talk about what's going on, like the current news and the current events of this franchise, without being like, there's a lot of evidence out there that like things are not great.
yeah, and it's a shame, right? And you know, you listen to my show. I'm positive about a lot of crazy stuff on Untitled Slumber Party, right? And I want to be positive about this. I do. I'm an open-minded person, but it's just like I hate egos. Everyone has an ego in Hollywood. I'm not just saying Vin Diesel has an ego, but like the Rock thing, whatever. There's two guys with big egos. Justin Lin. Come on, just finish it strong. I'm not blaming Lin. I'm just saying, like, clearly something is effed up on the set of these movies. I don't know. You guys have probably heard more rumors than I have, but
Yeah, I mean, there's a Hollywood Reporter piece that is out there that's pretty damning that we sort of read like half of, like the juicy bits in the opening. So tune in to the intro to this episode when it hits on Tuesday, or as you're a patron of the show, early on Friday, probably. Unless I'm busy, then Saturday. Probably Friday. Who knows? But yeah, it's tough, and I think it's hard. I think Justin Lin, I'm sure he didn't want to quit, but if you're looking at, months of shooting and then months of editing and then also being like, okay, then writing and pre-production and production and all this stuff on 11 as well, it's just like, I can't do it, man. Like it's so much time.
I don't blame him, and you're right. Like, ultimately what I want is just like handshakes and The Rock to come back, Justin Lin to come back, and everybody would be like, it's okay, we figured it out, no worries. I agree with Brian that like you're getting soured from the negativity that is all arrows pointing towards one person fucking it up.
I think there's also a tough thing that the franchise has gone through in that like there are things outside of its control, literally losing the star of your franchise to a terrible accident. But then to like make things harder on yourself, it's like this, we don't need this.
yeah,
Yes,
I don't get it.
It's a weird choice. He obviously wants it to succeed, right?
Sure,
like
yeah.
it's in his best interest for it to succeed. So like, why are you?
Because this is his legacy, right? Like if
Yes!
these movies are good, if like, it's not going to win an Academy Award, but like if
No.
10 or 11 is like great, like, if it wasn't, it's like that franchise that he has been the face of for 25 years by that point, right? Like it won Best Picture or whatever, right? Like it's just like, that's defining, like that's a career defining moment. And like the more roadblocks you put up for yourself, just the tougher it is.
And that's what you nail it. It's like these seem like roadblocks you're putting up for yourself.
Streets closed, pizza boy.
Yeah, like why? Why are you doing this? And it goes back to Brian, like it just must be ego. Like there's no way that you could look at this and be like, oh yeah, this was a smart decision to like push Justin Lin out of the franchise. You're like, what are you doing, bud? Like,
Yep.
just stop.
Yep.
Well, the franchise, and this didn't exist when it was created, so I understand. The franchise has never really had a czar, right? Like, Vin is the czar of the franchise. He's pretty much controls everything, and that's the conflict of interest when you're the lead in the film as well. They don't have, like, a Kevin Feige.
Yeah, that's what it's like if Kevin Feige was the star of every Marvel movie.
yeah, it's ridiculous, He's wearing too many hats there. And I just think back to when I first heard of Vin Diesel, and it was these things coming out of, I don't know, it's like my uncle telling me and me reading internet movie sites and like how he was this big director prospect and Spielberg loved him and everyone was waiting for new Vin Diesel movies. And Los Bandoleros he made, but he never really went in that direction, like the filmmaking yes, technically, but people saw him as an auteur. But he got the acting bug bit him. He liked being like this cool action dude, and I think that Vin ended up taking over the artistic Vin. And we probably don't get this franchise if it wasn't for that happening. But now he's too much this action star Vin, and he needs to go back to his roots. I would have honestly preferred if he said, "I'm directing this one," because I feel like 10. I feel like that would have maybe forced him to go back to his roots and forced him to work with people and forced him to be on time and care about it. But we're not going to get that either. I don't know.
No.
I just hope we just get a nice, awesome ending and it makes sense. And
I really wonder, and I don't know that we'll ever know. I wonder if he wants to do 10. Like, there's a chance that he doesn't want to do 10. That he's just like, I don't want to direct it, but like
Vin's out.
I don't know, like that
He's out director or out actor?
No. I think he's acting. I think he wants to act. I think that I'm wondering if he wants to direct the movie, like because we read that like they have all these different options, all these different whatever, right? And like I wonder if he's like I don't want that responsibility, but he also doesn't want to give up like the you got to run everything by me. Like he's like a shadow director, but like I'm curious if he actually wants the title of director, and I don't know that we'll ever know that.
I probably not. I mean, I think if he did, he'd have
handle
it.
That? It's like so much fucking work to be like the lead actor in a movie and direct it. I can't imagine he wants that either.
I mean, it's been done plenty.
In a movie this huge, this is like we're
Stallone has done it.
Well, so here, so
$300 million
So
budgets.
the website AARP.org, the American Association for Retired Persons, has a list of the 12 best films directed by its lead actor. So Citizen Kane obviously worked. Hamlet, but those are both from the 40s.
Yeah.
Reds, directed by Warren Beatty, who was 84 at the time. Yentl, directed by Barbara Streisand. Okay. Dances with Wolves, Kevin Costner. Maybe he wasn't 84 at the time. Maybe these are his ages now.
No, he's 84 now. He was not 84 in Reds.
Yeah, there's also a chance that these are just all people of retirement age. So I think there might be a slant to this. Little Man Tate, directed by Jodie Foster. Life is Beautiful by Benigni. $1 Million Baby by Clint Eastwood. Although I wouldn't say he's the star of that. 2 Days in Paris by Julie Delpy. Argo by Ben Affleck. In a World by Lake Bell, which is a great movie. Star is Born by Bradley Cooper. So, like, it's happened. But, like, there's very few scenes in these movies other than when we're seeing the villain's lair or whatever that Dom's not on screen. So it's not like you're just like in your movie. You're like in every scene of your movie, right?
No. And I would have liked him to direct because I would have been interested in his return to that. But the ideal situation would have been, and I mentioned this to you guys on Twitter, like, promote someone who listens to you but has their own thing. Like, you mentioned him, Joey. Like, Tanks has like 2 guys, right, that he usually goes to for his shit, and they listen to him. They take care of stuff, but he's still in charge. But Cruise. Tom Cruise, though, you feel like he respects the process. You feel like Tom Cruise respects the actors around him as well. And yeah, it's his show, and everyone knows that. But the vibes you get on those sets are that, like, he just really, really loves what he's doing. And we're not really seeing that. At least, again, this is all hearsay. We're not really seeing that from from Vin Diesel. And it's disappointing.
You also don't think, like, I never get the sense that Tom Cruise thinks everything runs through him.
Well, I think I actually just had this conversation about Cruise because I think that there's nothing that Cruise wants more than to be seen as a successful actor and movie star. And I think when we saw him like flip out about the COVID thing a couple years ago, right? Where he like went way over the top and people were like, whoa, like he wants his movies to be successful. And I think that he's willing to sort of take a back seat. Like he trusts the people. But I think
it was for the good of everyone.
Yeah,
that wasn't like an ego thing. That was like, look, we need this to work. So like, it's in everyone's best interest to do this.
I think also as a movie star, as an actor, as whatever, Tom Cruise is like one of the most successful people to ever be in movies.
100%.
Inarguably. Like the knocks against him is that he's a little too intense maybe, and that he's, you know, the Scientology thing. But like from everything I've heard and doing the podcast about him, even though we try to separate the art from the artist, whatever, it seems like he's incredibly nice on set. He remembers everyone's names. He's been in many, many movies that are considered like some of the best movies of all time or the most highest grossing or whatever, right? Like he's just unequivocally a movie star, one of our last movie stars. Vin Diesel, he's got these, and he's got the Riddick movies, which like are more niche, and he's got Groot, but like you don't see him as Groot.
No.
True. That's a really good point. Oof, we have veered, and I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved the moment of this conversation.
Switching lanes, baby. Do either of you remember who gets the fuck in this movie? I feel like we probably have talked about this before, but this is one that I never remember.
Who what? Gets to fuck?
Gets the fuck.
The fuck.
Oh.
Gets to say fuck.
Oh, I was like, wait, I don't remember that. Is it
the fuck in this movie?
Does Phoenix Calderon? I think that's his name.
Well, there's Tego Calderon. Phoenix is the other guy.
That's his last name though, Calderon. I looked it up.
Is it really the actor or the character?
The character. His alias is Campos. That's what it says in the Fast and Furious.
No, Campos is Braga.
I know, but his alias is Campos because we're led to believe that he might be Campos. So.
Are
we? At
we?
one point?
I'm reading the Fast and Furious wiki, which is
Phoenix Calderon. Okay.
Does he get to fuck in the movie?
No. But it's in a scene I think that he's in.
Who is it then?
Brian O'Connor.
I don't remember that.
Does?
After
what
Dom lets off, like he explodes those cars, when he confronts Phoenix about running nitro meth and he blows up those cars, Brian pulls up, he says, Dom, get in the fucking car, let's go.
Oh, it's a fucking car.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's different.
I mean, it counts, but yes.
No, you only get one of those in a PG-13 movie, and so it's momentous. 5 is The Rock, 8 is Helen Mirren, 9 is Hobbs and Shaw. They both get one. 7 and 6, I'm missing. Who are we doing? 7 and 6.
I don't know.
There's one that doesn't have one. I think like 7 might not have one.
I will find out. I'm gonna look at my notes.
You should allow only one fuck on the podcast.
No, it's too hard.
And then, yeah, he bleep out the rest.
Roman gets it in 6.
Interesting.
Your voice just went from Shaggy to Scooby-Doo. See, man, when a woman starts shooting at you, that's a clear sign to back the fuck off. We gotta get the hell out of Dodge. That could have been my forehead, man. That's not as big as your forehead.
Cool.
And then Furious 7, maybe there isn't one. 7, you might be right. There might not be one because I don't have fuck in my notes. And I have 6,100 words in my note document for Furious 7. There is, the scene where they're at the club and Dom and Brian are sitting there and there's like that awkward tension where Braga's like, do you guys know each other? He's like, yeah, you should date my sister. Dom is quizzing Brian in front of Braga about being in prison because he's like, yeah, this guy never went to prison. Like, I'm gonna call him out on this thing, right?
Yep.
He says, you know a guy named Blank? He goes, nah, man. Different wing or whatever. Do either of you know? Because I'm like, as I was watching this movie, I'm just like, this could be a trivia question on our Fast and Furious minute quiz.
75 years into the future, yes.
So yeah, we'll do Tokyo Drift first. So we have like 50, including the deleted stuff, probably another 60 episodes. Yeah, like 4 years into, in 4 years we'll get to Fast and Furious number 4, and then this is probably so maybe like 5 years from now we'll get to this.
Okay.
Do either of you remember the name of the guy? There's no reason you would ever remember this. The name of the guy that Dom says, Brian, do you know this guy?
No, but I wish it was like Scooter something. Like
no, it's
something
a very
dumb.
banal, boring name.
I know, and I was hoping, like, I heard him say it this time, and I was like, oh man, I wish it would have been like a really fun name or like a nickname or something, right? Because like, who knows anybody's government name that you're like spending time in prison with?
And the name, Jim Garcia.
Really? That's
know Jim Garcia? No, I don't know who that is, man. Oh, you mean Cheeks? Yeah, I know Cheeks or whatever.
That's what like something like that, right?
Yeah.
Joe, do you have any notes? Anything you saw this time for the first time?
No, I was mainly focused on making my argument for who would be the best heist team, and I was just thinking the whole time that these were actually a lot of great options, and like we're getting to a point where I hope and think that will actually be pretty difficult to pick who is the best for our heist team, as opposed to like, in 1 and 2 where it was kind of hard to pick someone. So as I was watching through, I'm just thinking about that. Rachel made a good point when we started this out. She was like, this is a movie that I forget a lot of what happens in, which is true. Exactly like Brian was saying, you're so geared up that this is like an intro or prelude for 5 that like sometimes this one definitely blurs a lot, and I just like miss pieces of it that I don't remember. When I was watching it this time, the scene that you're in the club that we were just talking about, and talking about how good of an actor Braga is, that part at the end there where he's like, broads, booze, whatever you guys want, don't worry about it, just felt so natural. Like that one little line and his like hand motions when he stood up, I was like, oh man, this really reminds me of like if you ran into somebody at the club that you knew and he's like, I'm running to the bathroom, like I just ran into my buddy, like whatever you guys want, don't worry about it, just I got it. Peace.
Well, what's really funny is that's almost exactly what you said is like one of your favorite moments in Point Break, where Bodhi's like, whatever you need, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I just like this, like, if you can convey like a casual cool, I think that's really hard to portray on film. It comes off so lame so often, right? So like for somebody to just be like, to just exude cool, this is why we love Han so much, or why I love Han so much, that he just like exudes cool in moments that aren't supposed to be cool. So like Braga just being like, yeah dude, whatever you guys want, like I'm out, like I ain't even worried about you anymore, so like have a good night, peace. And like that is just like really badass to me. Like he's not watching them. Like Carter Verone is always like, like we were doing the minute. Like Carter Verone's always like, no, like I have to have the guys with me. I have to be watching you. I have to know where you're going. I have to know where Monica's going. Like Braga's like, fuck it, I'll get you anyways. Like go wherever you want.
Yeah, fair enough.
Braga.
Brian, any other thoughts? Any other notes about Fast and Furious? You want to play the Twitter game?
I have things I want to say, but I don't know. They're not related to this film.
What do you want to say? Hit us with it.
Yeah, talk.
Well, I've said this off air, but I want to let all your Fast and Furious fans out there, your two fasteners out there, that
the fasteners. I kind of like that. That's a good word. I never used that before.
That I'm a car guy now.
Oh, what did you do?
I watch every Formula One race, and that makes me a car guy.
That absolutely does. I'm very proud of you.
I'm
That's
I'm
pretty cool.
I'm learning about cars.
We were actually just talking that we wanted to go when they do Vegas next year. It's going to be a night race, and we want to go. So just saying that.
You must be the wealthiest person in the world, but
Why?
I wish you luck. The Formula One's getting so popular that, like, for instance, the Miami tickets were more than the Super Bowl tickets.
No, that's tickets to go. It's running down the strip. I just want to get a hotel that's on the strip that faces the strip while the race is there.
Good luck paying that, buddy. Anyway, but if you do it, I congratulate you, and I hope you accomplish it. But these tickets are the hottest tickets in the world now. I'm so jealous of anyone who gets to go. I don't even understand what's going on, but I'm learning more and more every day about how cars are built. I actually bought a book that was suggested for me called How to Build a Car, the autobiography of the world's greatest Formula One designer by Adrian Newey. He builds these cars in Formula One, and supposedly it's like a super fascinating book. Just to build a car from scratch is amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And every week they're talking about like new things that they can do to just get a little edge. The big thing for the race in Miami that's coming up this weekend, which I think this will be out and people will know who won if they care. But a lot of teams are talking about how to get less paint on the cars to make the car lighter, which think about that. They're
insane.
They're even counting the paint on the car and
Grams.
stuff. And now I think Formula One might regulate. No, you have to have this amount of paint because they don't just want like carbon cars, carbon, colored cars. They're all made of carbon anyway. But like just to see, you got to watch a race. Like honestly, the U.S. ones, they're fun, but they're in the middle of the day, whatever, because they're here. The best ones are the European ones.
That run at like 1 a.m.
The night ones look awesome, but I like a European day one because that's like 8 a.m. here on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And you wake up, and this is what I do. I wake up, I make my mimosa, which is not hard to make, obviously.
I slave away in the kitchen. Perfect
I watch
ratio.
The pre-race.
Champagne. Juice. Champagne.
The ratio is important. But like in the 20 minutes before the race, they have the craziest thing. Like all the richest people and the celebrities get to walk around where the cars are being placed, I guess. Because like the cars are so light, they lift them to the start so they don't waste the tires, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
And then like you see like royalty and celebrities, and George Lucas is like always there because he's so rich and he loves pod racing.
He loves pod racing.
That's like the closest thing to pod racing. And then it's only 90 minutes of no commercials.
Yep.
What American sport is that, right?
Well, soccer. Soccer's the only thing. Like I used to love watching soccer on ESPN too, because it was like before the internet, or like when I was at my grandparents' house without before smartphone, before laptops, before they never had internet, but like I could watch 45 minutes of soccer and like see the bottom line in its entirety. And on ESPN 2 they had like expanded stats. I'm like, yeah, this is what's up.
No, that is true, but again, not really an American sport, soccer. But it has that feeling, cool names, and truly representative of the entire world. If you look at the 20 drivers, there's no American anymore. They're trying to get one in because the sport's blowing up here. But
yeah,
truly representative of the world. Drivers from Asia and all parts of Europe and Canada and Mexico. Really, really cool stuff. And they truly global because they go to tracks around the world.
Yep.
DRS, I don't know what it is, but I've been trying to explain it to people. It feels really, really fun. It looks really cool. There's a lot of fun colors. Oh, the tire thing's awesome because you have hard, soft, and medium tires, and you have to use at least 2 of the 3 during the race, and they do different things. And then in 2026, they're going completely sustainable. How's that possible?
I don't know. I think that's like that's some voodoo magic where like they plant a bunch of trees somewhere because I can't imagine that it's ever going to be sustainable.
They already they're apparently going to use sustainable fuels, and I don't know if you're like some people are worried, oh, they're just polluting, but they will be better than our regular cars.
It's a very minuscule amount of like every sport is bad, right?
Yeah.
Just like in general, like any sport, like running the lights at a baseball stadium is not good.
True.
It's all going to be bad, but I also think that you actually get great advantages from car racing because like all of that stuff eventually will trickle down into
Exactly.
safety and fuel efficiency and like all of these things do play a role in what will become better for the planet in the sense that like if you can save the weight in a car to do something or save people's lives with safety features, like that's ultimately good.
That's what I was gonna say, Joe. That like one of the craziest things about this sport, like I love baseball, I love basketball, right? Like, but nothing happens in those sports that actually really influence our regular everyday lives. But in Formula One, you're absolutely right. The development that they have there actually goes into cars that we'll see like 5-10 years down the road. Some of the biggest innovations in the cars we drive today have come from the racing world and that push there to get better. So it's like, it's weird in that sense. You know what I mean? Like it's weird to be like, oh, this is just like really testing and development for products that will be used later, but it's also a race. So I don't know. I'm super into it. I suggest all your listeners get into it. And maybe some of them are. I'd love for them to write you and tell me.
Oh, we definitely have F1 listeners for sure.
Yeah. I'm such a newbie. I'm such a newbie. I get it. I'm in the new generation, and the old people hate me, the old F1 fans. But you know what? For the rise of this sport to happen like this and so quickly, it's so awesome. I listen to F1 podcasts now, so just love that new people are into the thing that you always loved, and I want to hear from you guys. Write to Too Fast, Too Forever, and everyone who writes about their Formula One experience, they're gonna get something.
Oh God. Well, you just buy it. You should buy like a box of Panini cards so you could just send like one because they make like F1 Panini cards.
There you go. I'm gonna track down some Panini cards. I will.
I'm sure you could buy like a lot of like this year's bullshit ones that like aren't like the famous super fan. I don't know. I don't even know what the fuck the Panini cards look like. I just saw somebody be like, oh man, like look at these F1 Panini cards, and I was like, are they just drivers or cars or what? I don't know. I'm guessing everything, right? Because that's just how it has to work.
The two other things that I'll say that's like adds to the drama of Formula One if you're like still not sold. So every team has two racers. They're teammates, but the dynamic is not like there's so much fucking drama. So we didn't talk about Netflix's Drive to Survive. That's what really propelled the F1 explosion in the US.
Yes.
Because that show is like doing amazing and it's a great reality show if you want to get in that way. But again, I know the hardcore fans hate it, but whatever. Something that you learn on that show and that is true is like, it's very awkward to be a teammate with someone because there's only, like we talked with the Ricky Bobby movie, right? Like there's only one first place guy. There's only one person who's going to go. There's only one person who wins the race. That's what I meant.
Yes.
So if you're second on your team, but you're second place, you're still second, it's like.
There's intercompetition in your own team.
Yeah. So you'll have like, towards the end of the season, your team will tell you like, hey, don't pass our number one driver because he's going to lose in the point standings and you have to slow down. But there's been guys in the past who didn't do that. Like the young buck coming up who's just like, fuck it, I'm going to take over this team now. And that shit actually happens. Like it when it comes to that, it could be like so dramatic. The shittiest thing about the sport, I'll say it, it's like a lot of European sports. And if you follow soccer, you know this, you're never going to get like a last place team that's suddenly going to win. Like it takes years to develop a good car. Usually there's like Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes traditionally are like the best teams, and they'll usually
because it's a money pit. There's like no.
Well, there's a cap now. There's a cap now, so it's evening it out, which is good. And you're seeing a lot more parity than ever before. But fastest car wins. There's something that I've heard that says like the two worst guys in the best car would still do really, really well. They would still, you know what I mean? And like the two best drivers in the worst car would still get last place. Or not last place, but like they you know what I mean? It's not really a driver sport as much as it is a car building sport. So I don't know. It's all fascinating. It's all cool. It's all exotic. And my goal is to watch every Formula One race this year. So far, so good. So yeah, just wanted to add that.
You want to play a Twitter game?
No. Yes.
No. Well, Brian, too bad that you don't want to play this, because we are going to play...
I'm going to play the game.
Ain't no 10-second race, a.k.a. Boy, do we have a podcast for you.
Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Come and check out our show. Yeah, yeah.
So as we go on twitter.com, a.k.a. the Bird app, find anyone who's not following us, tweet at them some kind of message, and then Boy, do we have a podcast for you, link to the show, and so on and so forth. So last time we did this, was John Brooks, my co-host over on 1999 The Podcast. Again, out this week. We have an episode about The Phantom Menace. Next week is The Blair Witch Project, I think. Next episode is The Blair Witch Project. So, we talked about Too Fast, Too Furious, and I found... Oh, no. No, it's classic, Joe. This person did not delete their Twitter, did not block us, but they went private.
Interesting. Okay, that's
so
a little
don't know
reversion.
what he said, but we said no further explanation needed, which I guess is a fair thing to say to us, to a tweet that we can no longer see. Void of a podcast for you. Got a like, but from Dr. DC Podcast from Reed Vanier, no points. So I don't know what he said, but I got nothing. So that's back in our roots. Like that's, we haven't had that in a while, really, where it's like we can't see the tweet anymore.
Nice. That means you made an impact on someone's life.
I feel like she was just like, I don't want weirdos on the internet messaging me. I'm going on private.
Probably true.
Joe, you found Madison at Maddie 2022 Life. Okay, so I'm a huge fan of the Fast and Furious saga, and I just want to know, are they going to bring back at Gal Gadot? Because they brought everyone else back, and I want my favorite character back too. And we said we anxiously await the return of Gal, and we have so many theories as to how this could happen. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. And Maddie liked it, and then someone else retweeted it. But I don't know who this is. They have one follower. They're just, it's a Gal Gadot bot. A Gal Gadot. So, Joe, you get a point. Congratulations, you get a point.
Thank you. Perfect.
You are up to 64. I'm at 45.5. Brian, you are at point-wise 0. You've never gotten a point in this game.
I've never scored.
John found Lewis Rabinowitz at Lewis Rabinowitz, who quote tweeted the Fast saga saying, "Fasten your seatbelts, Fast X is now in production." And Lewis said, "Those absolutely beautiful bastards did it again. Another new naming scheme for a Fast and Furious sequel." Then replied to himself saying, "Not a single one of these sequel names have cohered. These guys have done numbers, subtitles, different one-word titles, puns, and abbreviation. No consistency. Now it's Roman numerals. My heart is full." And we said, we are Fast and Furious Presents, too excited for you to join and listen to our podcast, Tokyo Drift. Boy, to have a podcast for you. And as expected, because that makes no sense, no points. So swing and a miss for Mr. John Brooks, unfortunately. Better luck next time, buddy. Oh, I do want to say on the Phantom Menace episode, we had Brian Silliman, past guest of this show.
Oh, nice.
Someone was talking about on Twitter about a taxi driver and who could play it. I'm just saying, no. Canonically, in the Fastiverse, if there's a taxi driver, it must be Brian Silliman, because he told us a wonderful story about driving around Valkyrie, Valkyrie, but Tessa Thompson in Men in Black, around New York. And so if there's a Fast and Furious taxi driver, it's Brian. End the story.
It's perfect. I love it.
Do either of you have a tweet for this episode? Have you found a tweet to share with me? Joe, hit us with it.
I'm going to go with Flare Titan, at Flare Titan. Finding out Roger Ebert was a big Fast and the Furious fan is the best purely because I get to say now Roger Ebert was Tokyo Drift pilled. I would like to say I prefer my Tokyo Drift intravenously. Boy, do we have a podcast for you.
I'm going to say we prefer our Tokyo Drift delivered intravenously. Boy, do we have a podcast for you.
Perfect.
Brian, you had sent us 2 because you like to play for charity. So which one is going to be for you and which one's for charity?
Since I talked for and listen out there, Fastiverses. Fasteners. I talked for 45 minutes straight about Formula One. So whatever Joey edits it down to, just know that there was probably 38 minutes more of that.
That's a lie. It was like 8 to 10 minutes.
It's not a lie.
Which is still a very long time.
So the first, I'll play for myself first, and it's that's the which tweet to pick there. All right, so this is playing for me. It's Formula One's official Twitter account. Apparently, Vin Diesel was at the 2021 Italian Grand Prix in Monza. He did not wear sleeves. And it says, it's only at Vin Diesel. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. And then hashtag Italian Grand Prix, hashtag F1. It has over 2,000 retweets, 748 quoted tweets, and 270K likes. But I think F1 and other people are going to like this one. So just say, I guess Vin lives his life more than a quarter mile at a time.
Oh, that's a good one.
You want us to say, I guess Vin, or just start with Vin?
I like the I guess. I
like the I guess. I like the
I wasn't sure if you were saying that as part of the tweet or just like,
No,
I guess I
no.
should do this. Okay, so I guess Vin lives his life. Okay, cool. Okay, now hit us with the other one.
So this one I'll be playing for charity because I think it has a better shot. NJ MMA Insight OG fan. At NJ MMA Insight. My favorite Fast and Furious bad guy. Braga. My favorite line. Booze, broads. It's all good. And it's a vertical phone video of the scene.
Widescreen TV.
Of a widescreen TV of that line in the film. So
it's my favorite scene too. That's what I was just saying. It's perfect.
I know. So I don't know what you guys. I'll leave it up to you guys what to say because it is for charity there. And of course, if the tweet is liked, myself, Joey, and Joe will all sign some Braga merchandise and send it to your house. So something Braga related. I promise you that.
We could buy season 1 of Togetherness, the HBO Duplass show, where he plays like a caring, loving guy who like helps Melanie Linsky cheat on Mark Duplass. So you know.
Yeah, he's good in that. You know what he's good into? Silver Linings Playbook. He's in that too.
He's a great actor.
He's amazing.
Like the weird thing is that him as Braga is like against type.
It's against type. Yeah, it's like a typical, like a Latin gangster type, but that's not usually who he plays. So you're so right. So I don't know what you guys think would be cool to say.
Yeah, Joe, how do you want to reply?
We don't have very many broads or any, but we definitely have a lot of booze. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Something along those lines, like you know what I mean.
I found this is from like a year ago. Lars Gottrich at Total Vibration on Twitter. Ooh. He is Rosewave Daddy for NPR Music. I don't know if he's. He has a newsletter at VikingsChoice.org, and he says he does a bunch of things, and he has bonus. I watched the first 5 Fast and Furious movies again. And there's a gif of the race at the end of the first movie where Dom and Brian are racing, and Dom does like the wheelie or whatever, and they race toward the train.
Yep.
And then Lars responds to that and says, I lost 4 subscribers this morning. I can only assume they do not appreciate the lizard brain genius of the Fast and Furious franchise. I was trying to find someone tweeting about the lizard at the beginning of this movie, and as far as I can tell, I can't find tweets about it. But I found
Iguana?
lizard brain genius.
Did you search iguana or just lizard?
I searched chameleon, which I knew was wrong, and I found tweets about Han.
Yeah.
I'm saying we know you included this in a newsletter from a year ago, but we will always appreciate the lizard brain genius of the Fast and Furious franchise. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. I'm now going to search Fast, Furious, Iguana, right? That's what I want?
I would search iguana.
Hey, Joey.
Yeah.
What Nicolas Cage movie famously features an iguana?
Port of Call. Bad Lieutenant. Port of Call, New Orleans.
I didn't know if you knew your Cage facts.
Come on, man. Reaction Rocket tweeted, this week's rewatch on the road to F9 is Fast and Furious, featuring the single greatest stunt ever performed on screen by an iguana. Hashtag Fast and Furious. I will like that. What has Dominic Trotta been up to? What is it like having an iguana as a pet? Why does Brian try to be a cop? Again, join us tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern for Fast and Furious, the confusingly named 4th film of the series, and find out corona.sofaskins.net. I'm going to like that one too. And even though the driver of the oil truck that got robbed in the beginning of the Fast and Furious pet iguana is okay. Yeah, so I guess, there's a lot of people tweeting about the iguana, but not as many as you would think.
Yeah. That's I hate when I think of something and I'm like, somebody isn't tweeting about that.
Watching Fast and Furious, parentheses, the 4th movie, the opening scene is Dom, Letty, Han, Leo, and Santos hijacking a diesel truck driven by a guy with a pet iguana who loves candy. How is this not at least the 3rd best movie? Okay, time for Fast and Furious, and okay, that man's co-pilot is an iguana. So, I mean, tweets about the iguana are pretty good. I'm just liking all of them. So, I'm not, replying to them, but... The 4th entry in the franchise is just called Fast and Furious, which feels stupid, but there's a cute little iguana in the first 90 seconds, so it evens out so far. Well, Brian, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Always great to be here. It's good to be not behind the paywall for once, so that people can listen to me. Though
Hey, you're in front of the paywall at least once per lap, and then behind the paywall so you can get saucy.
I know. Yes, it does get saucy. We talked borderline porn film last time, so that was cool.
Well, you'll be on again later this lap, but again, it will be behind the paywall because it's a movie that no one's ever heard of, but it was co-written by someone who I think co-wrote Too Fast, so...
Oh.
What is it? I don't even remember.
The Kristen Stewart vehicle, Catch That Kid.
Yes, Catch That Kid. I can't wait.
It'll be a crossover with Twilight Slumber Party, your new podcast that doesn't quite exist yet.
No, it's just it's a soft launch. A soft launch.
So what do you want to plug? I mean, let people know, because you have a new you might have a new Twitter account since the last time you were on, and you actually have 2 new Twitter accounts.
Well, yeah, but I do want to forward my my Rodriguez Twitter account. That is my personal Twitter. I only have, I think, 20 followers or something along those lines, and 500 on Heist Slumber Party. Not to brag, not to braga, but that's not a huge number. I don't have a blue check or anything, but it's more than 20. So follow me on Oh My Rodriguez, and I'll try to post more. Sometimes I'll just think a thought and be like, you know what? I need to populate my Twitter account with more tweets, so I'm just going to write that here. And it gets no likes, and I get sad.
You know what I realized? I was scrolling through Twitter the other day, and I just saw you tweet, yes! And I was like, that's a dumb tweet. But then I'm like, oh, wait, that was almost guaranteed sent the minute the final lap and the no-hitter happened. Is that? Yep.
That is correct. See, like, okay, I'm just scrolling through Twitter, and Joe, I see your lovely Rachel says, really want a giant bowl of mashed potatoes and gravy right now.
Yep.
From yesterday or earlier today. I don't know when it was. 2 likes, 1 comment, and it's you. But
well, yeah, she's cultivated a following of people who care about that.
That's what I want. That's all I want, and that's my point. That's all I want. Some love.
You'll get there. It'll happen, bud. Just believe in yourself.
I gotta believe in myself. I gotta curate more.
Yeah, you gotta just be the Ted Lasso, right? Just like tap that believe sign, and then send that tweet. Every time you send a tweet, you gotta tap the sign first.
So I do have a secret project coming out. I've been recording secret episodes, and Joey,
I know about this?
I've mentioned a lot of secret projects to you, but this is
that's why I'm wondering if I know about this one.
Slightly, but it's further down the aisle than you think. And I'm gonna send you some stuff soon, so just definitely listen for this one. I'm very excited. About this project. It's something where, let's just say, I get to watch some great films. And
it's an F1 podcast?
No, come on. I'm not that. I'm not. I basically had an F1 podcast today for the 45 minutes that Joey cut out. But so stay tuned. You can check out Oh My Rodriguez for any updates on what's going on in my life there. And thanks for having me, as always, guys. I don't know what movies we have left, but we'll get there.
You mean in the main franchise?
In the main franchise, yeah.
1, 7, and 9. You're ending with 1. The rule is that you're ending with 1.
And 10 too.
Well, by the time we get to, unless more bad things happen, we will get, 10 will be out by the time, even before you get to 1. Because, we're only going to have 1 more lap this year. So do either 7 or 9. And then next lap, you'll probably do the other one. And then after that, you'll do 10. And then you'll probably do 1, and then you get to the exciting thing is you have to join us for a bonus comment, everybody who's watched all the movies with us or talked about the movies with us gets to join for an extra. So you'll be added to the roster. And Joe, when F11 comes out, we're going to talk about that 8 times in 16 weeks. Just get ready. We got to figure out a new way to do that because it's crazy. Because we can't do what we did before, right? We can't do it again.
Yeah, I agree.
1, 7, and 9. That's all you got left, Brian.
And then the podcast ends, right?
Yeah, it's over.
I do like that on the most recent High School Summer Party that's been released now, you mentioned something about you're graduating soon, the podcast might end, and then you move on like it's not a joke. It just might be all you get.
It might end. Who knows? Life has gone pretty fast these days. If I don't stop to look around a while,
you might miss it. Yeah.
I could miss it, and that's what's funny. Anyway, I feel like I'm overstaying my welcome here. I never do that.
Hey, you know what? We've already gotten a like, but it was for charity. So $1 goes to charity. Brian.
What? Charity got it? Oh, so
charity always beats you. I think charity. You've gotten multiple charities.
I didn't think. Wow, good. Who liked it?
NJ MMA Insight OG fan, the guy you tweeted at.
I hope he becomes a listener.
I hope so too. Next week, Joe, speaking of listening, I hope you listen to the next episode. We have Justin Kleinman's patron pick of Thunderbolt and Lightfoot.
Ooh.
This is the movie that he's been very high about. Yeah.
And I don't think it was you who was talking about it.
It's a Clint Eastwood, Jeff Bridges movie from 1974. Looks like it's available on Prime, if you want to watch it there. Also Tubi or Pluto if you don't have Prime. So it's all over the place. Oh, also, of note for Point Break, Gary Busey in the film, pre-motorcycle accident. So,
oh, interesting. That'll be fun to see and talk about. Yeah.
But Ryan, thank you once again for joining us. You'll be back in July for a Behind the Paywall episode about Catch That Kid.
Ooh, I can't wait for that. Oh, sorry, there's one thing I forgot to mention. What? Go ahead. The Corey movies on High School Slumber Party. Check them out. I have a ton in the can that I just have to edit, including a fast nection on the episode for Fast Getaway. Definitely listen to that episode because
that one's already out though. Make it clear that that's not. Sorry. That one's already out. Yes. There's a pretty big fast nection.
There's a huge fast nection in that one. I think the fans of this show will really like the insight in that movie. Like Mike and I, Mike Manzi, my co-host on the Corey films. I think you've heard of him here on this show as well.
We're familiar.
There was a huge fast nection there that blew Mike's mind on air. You know what my favorite thing about High School Slumber Party, Corey Lap, is? Blowing Mike's mind, because we do that so often. But definitely check out the Fast Getaway episode. So I wanted to mention that, and thank you guys for having me.
For all things Too Fast, Too Forever, you go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFastTooForever, or at TooFastTooForever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page at TooFastTooForever.com and our store at TooFastTooForever.shop, and come back next time for Thunderbolt and Lightfoot. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too.
And that was Oh My Rodriguez on Twitter. Go follow him. Give him some love. Like his tweets that have no context. And we'll tell you all about it
when we see you
again.